Hey everybody, it's Blake,
And this is Drew.
and you're listening to Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Controllers podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 137 of the podcast. Before we get into the good part of the podcast, we'll run through the boring part of the podcast, which is where you can find us. We're on all the social media platforms. I'm trying to get better about posting. We try to remember to post things from the games we're playing. I posted a couple of things here, but mostly you'll see us posting when we're going to go live with our Twitch channel, or if we're releasing new episodes, we'll post that stuff on there. But we wouldn't mind people reaching out on there about games they'd like to see us play, or games you're playing that you enjoy, or if you played something we talked about and enjoyed it or hated it. That's what the social media is for. Just use it for a good thing and reach out to us sometimes. We really appreciate that. Like I said a minute ago, the most important thing we want people to come to our Twitch streams with our cousin / podcast editor Brian. We are currently working through Dark Souls Remastered, which I am honestly having a horrible time.
It depends. It changes from moment to moment. Sometimes there's just some nonsense.
Yeah, because we repeatedly, as we played the other ones, we've been hard selling Brian on the Dark Souls one's the best one, which in our memories it was. Brian has told me once or twice now to never meet your heroes, because Blake and Brian are doing okay. I'm having a really tough time enjoying myself. I feel like playing Dark Souls Remastered. It was originally Dark Souls would have been in my top 5 or top 3 of favorite games of all time. I was on Blake last night, or maybe during our stream last night. I was just like, I wish I didn't play this again. I should have just left this in my memories, because I'm having a seemingly terrible time trying to find any kind of enjoyment from this. But we keep on trucking away. There's still cool moments to be had and stuff like that, and maybe enjoying watching Brian smash things with this big piece of wood, which has been pretty cool. But you can come follow us on twitch.tv/Two Smoking Controllers to see when we go live. We try to do Wednesdays. We missed Wednesday this past week. By the time this comes out, it'll be way in the past. We had a bunch of bad, crazy weather, so we postponed. But we snuck in another stream on Saturday. But you can catch all those streams. You can catch them again afterwards. Blake, I don't know how far behind they are, but he does grab them from Twitch and post them to our. Now we have a YouTube channel, of course, which the YouTube channel has our Twitch streams when Blake posts them, and then Blake has 1 or 2 or 3 episodes deep into his.
It should be 2 or 3. I think it's 3 of 9 for the RoboCop.
Yeah, Blake's playthrough of RoboCop is now playing on our YouTube channel with weekly episode releases. So go check that out as well. I don't know, the YouTube link will be in the show notes, because I know it's not just simply youtube.com/ I don't think it's they don't make
you sent me the stuff.
Yeah, they don't make it that simple. But just scroll down through our show notes here and just click on the YouTube and subscribe and like whatever you want to do, and check out Blake playing RoboCop Rogue City. That what it's called, Rogue City.
Rogue City.
We launched the episodes in tandem with the launch of the RoboCop episode, so check that out. We also have a store and a Patreon page. The store has what you think it has on it: shirts, mouse pads, and other various things on there. So go check that out, and just support the running of the podcast. Same thing with the Patreon page. Every podcast you listen to has one. If you like the podcast enough and want to support us, and it doesn't hurt. Eventually one day we'd like to pay Brian for the time he spends editing, but as of right now he's doing it for free as a family favor.
Familial obligation, I guess.
So Patreon's there. If you go on the Patreon, you get the episodes. Ironically, you get them early and before Brian touches them, which would be hilarious to pay him with Patreon money to
not to listen to his hard work.
Not to listen to his work. Irony. And if you're on there, we also like people to, because you see our names of our episodes are kind of long and dumb. If you're on a Patreon, we'd like you could pitch us naming stuff for that before the episode comes out, and we'd give you a shout out for naming an episode for it. So that's all on the Patreon, including the RoboCop stuff was all on there months before Blake had it ready for YouTube. We do post when we do guest episodes. We post the video. We don't really use the videos too much of the guest episodes, but we do have been trying to post the guest videos on our Patreon as well. We haven't really been editing them, so that I think we had our recent one we've had one or two on there, three. I don't remember which ones we had on there. But our recent one where we talked with Jared from Emerge is on there, so check that out. The video is on there. And we got an upcoming guest episode too, which the video for that will end up on their Patreon page as well. So all that stuff, like I said, all that stuff is in the show notes. Click on that if you want to, or don't. We'll keep making the podcast regardless, I guess, sadly. With that said, if you listen to the podcast at all, which you should, we've already announced this week's game. We try to stay ahead of that. Me and Blake have actually made a list. We've planned out all our episodes based on what games we want to have on our episodes finally. It only took us, how many years we doing this podcast?
137 episodes.
137 episodes to finally make a Google Doc that has all our games. Usually we're picking the day before. Sometimes we pick the next game the day of. Now we have a Google Doc where we've planned out all the games on all the upcoming episodes.
But it's still subject to change.
Subject to change because it's changing recently because we have at the end of this one we'll talk about. We had a game we were waiting on Brian to play, and with Brian finishing a game we want to talk about, we're going to pivot and have that game drop in next episode, with Brian dropping in again on a non co-op endeavors episode, which I don't know if he's probably finding out right now he's listening to this. But we're going to drop him in next episode because we want to talk about that game. We're going to save that for announce that at the end of the podcast. Right now we need to get into the game we want to talk about for this episode, which is a game. I'll talk about how we heard about it and stuff like that after Blake tells you a bit about the game.
The game we're talking about today is called Shining Force: The Legacy of Great Intention. It's the first tactical version of the Shining series, but is not the first in the Shining series franchise.
I didn't know that.
The first one is called...
like Shining in the Darkness, maybe?
Yeah, Shining in Darkness. Yeah. And that was a classic dungeon crawler. It was like in first person and you were walking around a dungeon and battling.
I've tried, you might like it then. I've tried, so how many times have I tried to like that genre and I just cannot get into it? You've played a couple. We had one on the podcast not too long ago.
Yomi.
Yomi, yeah.
Labyrinth
and you kind of like it in some of the Etrian games. You can kind of, I don't know, some of them, it sounds cool in theory. I just can't get into them. But maybe you should look into, maybe you can find you Shining in the Darkness and play it on your pocket, maybe.
We'll see. Because like I said, the Shining series, they have a bunch of different iterations and have all been kind of, it's not all made by the same people, but they do help co-produce and get rights and stuff. But I think their least popular is the dungeon crawlers. Really? They only ever made two.
Yeah, Shining in the Darkness.
Shining in the Darkness, and Shining the Holy Ark. Those are the only dungeon crawler ones they've made. Now, they've made quite a few more of the strategy games, which gets confusing because most of those are called Shining Force. But then they have some action-based titles that are still called Shining Force something. And it's just like, you should...
Well, I have some. I played one. It was weird. I'll say right here, because I dabbled in one for like an hour. We have them on our pockets for the Game Boy Advance games. And it was kind of telling, well, I started it, and it was like sort of telling the same story of Shining Force a little bit, or like an adjacent story of it, but it was running around in the field and like mashing the A button and like slashing people with the sword. And I was like, this is weird, because I mean, I prefer the strategy version of this, but it was weird because it was a similar kind of story being told.
Because it contains the Shining Force, the strategy versions it's about 10 of them, and that's iffy because some of them are just remakes on different versions.
Yeah, I want to play the game. So we played. We played the played the Sega Genesis version of Shining Force 1 through the Nintendo Online. I know it's awkward. We do have access. You'll probably admit we do have access to only the Shining Force 1 got a Game Boy Advance remake, which I kind of wish I had dabbled in before this podcast. because it's cool. It's like a remake. There's additional characters and story and cool new GBA graphics.
I have a whole article I'll talk about near closer to the end that it has like what they added to it. But
it sounds cool. I do want to play it.
But the besides that, we've actually spoke. I mean, it was a different company that did it, but we did speak about one of the action games earlier.
Oh, really?
They did Shining Resonance.
Shining Resonance refrain?
They didn't do the refrain, but they did Shining Resonance. Someone else did the refrain, but they did do Shining Resonance.
It's so weird. I'm not keep interrupting because I have so many memories of this. It was so weird to because we do the Reddit stuff, and then like the Shining Force. It was so weird to see the Shining Force subreddit talk about Shining Resonance refrain. I was like, is that really the same series of games? Like, this is so... Because we had... Refrain was on the podcast, right?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like the first 50 episodes.
You would have never placed that and Shining Force in the same lineage of games. I wouldn't. Like, when you look at them side by side... Granted, there's a 30-year gap there. But, like, I just wasn't thinking that Shining is just the name. You know, it's Shining. It's like Tales of, or like anything like the Tales series. I guess anything starting with Shining in front of it is part of this Shining franchise. I would have never placed them together.
It does say right here that the games do not necessarily have any noticeable similarities in gameplay or even story, but they are part of the same series. Yeah,
it's how different is that from
Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy's changing combat styles constantly.
Dragon Quest. No, Dragon Quest keeps the same style.
Yeah, so
but
mostly. I mean, how different is that from Final? And granted, they change genre completely. Shining games do, but we have also you might we have a Shining Force game behind you on PS2. We're excited to play at some point.
Yeah, and like I said, because it is like I said, the dungeon crawlers are shining in something, in something. These were generally most of the strategy games were Force.
Force, yeah, because that's the name of your team, the Shining Force.
Yeah, they're Shining Force Guidance, Shining Force, Shining. Well, it looks to be mostly Shining Force, and there's a Shining Force Feather, so they're all Shining Force.
I really want to play Shining Force 3. It's hard to play though.
Yeah. And then all of these, like the only one of these that is remotely confusing. No, there's a couple.
Besides the whole franchise.
Because there's Shining Force Neo, Shining Force EXA, and then Shining Force Cross. But those are still the action-based ones. So I was like, why? What? Just leave off the Force. Just say Shining Cross or Shining Wind. Because some of these are called Shining Wind or Shining Soul. Like, you didn't need the Force. That confuses people. Maybe
we have Shining Force behind you. We have Shining Force Neo on the PS2. So that's an action one of the action ones then?
Yeah, maybe there's like a dip in sales and they were trying to bring them back.
With some action. I wish it was a PS2 strategy game.
And one of the other... I need to get back to everything else, but it's cool to talk about.
It's a cool franchise.
Way back in 2009, Shining Force Cross, which I just mentioned, was released as an arcade cabinet only. And apparently it did really well because they used something called a Ring Edge system board, which made it a multiplayer game, which in an arcade... You weren't at a single machine, but it would link up to anyone else who was playing at the same time. And you could have up to 8 people playing an action game.
It's so ambitious.
Yeah. But it said within their first month, they sold 2,400 units. 2,400 not units, but machines, arcade machines, to be played like that.
That's a trip.
And it could go up to 8 people off and online.
What kind of game was it?
It was an action based one,
like a Musou or
and it just says action based. I didn't like look at a picture or anything, but it was an action based.
And it's obviously would saying that's a Japanese only in Japanese cabinets in Japan, right?
Probably.
Yeah, there's no way that would be in America.
But I just thought that they're ambitious cool. And they're doing cool. That would be something cool to try to find. But before we get too much more off into the tangents, I need to breathe. I'm fat.
Running out of breath, sitting in a chair talking about video games,
talking myself out of breath. But the game actually has a couple of different developers, which is a little strange. It shows 3 different developers.
Just for Shining Force 1?
Mm-hmm. There is Climax Entertainment, Sonic, ! Software Planning, and Amusement Vision. Now, Amusement Vision is only responsible for the GBA version. So I just want to mention that their name. I didn't do any research on them, but they did the GBA version.
It helps. Yeah. So I feel like, could be wrong, but having Sonic team attached It's just they would have touched everything touching the Sega Genesis, probably.
Yes. So that's where some of the slight confusion happens. I'll talk about no offense to them, but the lesser one, which is Climax Entertainment. Unfortunately, they are a defunct company. Climax, it's crazy because they were around for a long time, but Climax Entertainment was founded in April of 1990 and then didn't go defunct until 2015.
Yeah.
But that is a long time, and they only were responsible for 23 games. And then they during that time they had just 26 employees during their entire time, or they peaked at 26 before they went defunct. And they made a bunch of different games. Unfortunately, none of them I've really heard of, which is probably why maybe they went under, because I can't even look at some of these.
Going under after 30 years ain't, it's not bad, I guess.
It's not bad, no, but it's like it looks to be a lot of portable. Like they started doing PlayStation, PSPs, and the DS for a lot of it. They started doing a lot of handheld stuff, PSPs and DS. Like they have some earlier stuff, which is kind of split. They got Sega Genesis, Super Famicom, Sega Saturn, PlayStation, Dreamcast, and then after they did one PS2 game and then everything else. But I'm trying to think of any of the names. Like probably their biggest thing might be something called Landstalker, which was an action RPG that they made back in the day with an isometric. It was like a Diablo-like before Diablo-like, so it was isometrical and you just ran around hacking. Because they did Landstalker, Lady Stalker, and Dark Savior, which were all similar.
Yeah,
Wait, hold on. I think I misspoke on Dark Savior.
Those come to America?
Oh, no. Yes, it's Japan, worldwide, North America, yeah. But this Dark Savior is a sequel, and it was originally developed as a sequel, rather, for Landstalker, and it was called The Treasures of King Noel, but they do a whole metamorphosis.
What are they on? I haven't heard of those.
Mostly, we were never a Sega household. Yeah. Majority, it's Sega Genesis, Super Famicom, and Sega Saturn. And then there's Time Stalkers, which is on Dreamcast. And that was a crossover between it and something else.
But that's an obscure and hard to find Dreamcast game.
Mm-hmm. It's a roguelike RPG. But yeah. So I don't know. Some of their stuff sounds cool, but it also just sounds hard to find.
That's weird. I saw a post today. I mentioned this off the podcast. I saw a post today. Somebody had talked about that they was part of Shining Force was developed by Camelot, who would have went on to make Golden Sun. You found no reference to that at all?
That I'm getting to that.
Okay, I was wondering because I was waiting for Camelot to be in the list of developers there.
So I don't want to spend too much time on Climax Entertainment, not because they weren't good, because I don't know.
They're the lead developer. They were. It's
basically the lead developer. They co-developed with the Sonic Software Planning.
Yeah, but that's just.
So Sonic Software Planning is kind of cool. So what happened is two brothers. There is a gentleman named Hiroyuki Takahashi and his younger brother Shugo Takahashi. So Shugo worked for his brother Hiroyuki, and they both worked for this team, Sonic Software Planning, Sonic Software Planning. And they were, just working with Sega, doing things. They were just a development team. During that...
Oh, so it's not Sonic like Sonic the Hedgehog.
It's Sonic ! I think they were a Sonic team part of...
So this isn't Sega. Sonic Team then?
Yeah.
Sonic Team is separate.
Yeah.
So they're not Sonic Team. They're just... The name's just a coincidence?
Yeah. I think they were just an R&D team or whatever.
Okay, that's different.
The Sonic's in their name.
Because I was thinking because a Sonic Team would touch a lot of Sega stuff that wasn't Sonic games as a like an overlord. Yeah. It's like a bigger team.
They would help them out so they could slap their name on it and draw more eyes to it. And that's kind of what this is, because the Sonic name was on there. But during the development, because they were just kind of freelance, they were kind of working on this, working on that, including working on the Shining Force series. And so the older brother, which is Hiroyuki Takahashi, he was doing his own thing, and his little brother's like, I have plans. And he's like, do your plans. I'll do it. I'll make sure that you're still on, but do your plans. And so he started solo developing with some of at first it was solo, to come up with a pitch idea. And then he showed it off at work, and some people were like, that's really cool, let's work on it. And so some people went and started working with him, and he wanted to create Beyond the Beyond.
Oh, nice. So
the younger brother of Hiroyuki Takahashi, his younger brother Shugo, would come off and create Camelot Software Planning, aka Camelot ! They just switched Sonic to Camelot. And because of how popular Beyond the Beyond was, and how not popular some of the other games they were working on, his older brother switched over, and then they merged all the Sonic team, dropped the name, and went to Camelot.
Nice.
And then they would go on. So Camelot Software, I know that was a little confusing of a tangent, but they've been established in 1994. It's when the younger brother Shugo. They didn't fully go into production until 1998 when the merger happened and some people stayed and some people went to them.
So all this is basically leading to you saying that the reason Beyond the Beyond looks like Golden Suns because it's the same freaking developer.
It's his first. It's cool that it's the younger brother and his older brother's like, cool. I got your back, dude.
It's cool because we're big Golden Sun fans and we had seen Beyond the Beyond in passing. We're like, man, Beyond the Beyond looks a lot like a Golden Sun game. It's weird that it's not a Golden Sun game or somewhere. But come to find out, of course, we're idiots, and of course it's connected because it looks so much like the same style that Golden Sun's done in. At least the combat screens look so cool.
Oh yeah, and so besides the two brothers, Hiroyuki Takahashi and Sugo Takahashi, there is a third founding member essentially of Camelot. His name is Motoi Sakuraaba. And he seems to be mostly their composer. He's their key guy who does all their music.
Very cool.
And when I say all the music, I mean he's done other stuff, but he did all of the Golden Suns, and he did Star Ocean 1, as well as now I'm jumping back and forth to do all this stuff, but he's done a lot of music and video games and stuff. Like I said, almost anything that's put out by Camelot, he's responsible for the music, and I'll get to some of that other cooler stuff, what that means. But he's also done, like I said, he worked on Tales of Fantasia, he worked on Star Ocean, the Valkyrie games, and it says he did piecework in Dark Souls. He did like spot work in Dark Souls, which is kind of funny because we were just talking about that. Mm-hmm. But his work gets used in everything. They've used it in Smash Brothers when they've reused some of his levels and stuff like that. And he's gone on to do that. Mm-hmm. But he's also Baten Kaitos Origins, and Eternal Sonata. Nice. He's all over the place and making great music. So I think he's definitely worth noting.
That's cool because the Baten Kaitos just got re-released on Switch. So more people are hearing his music again.
I bring all that up, though, to say that... Great. I wish I could talk about him. Mm-hmm. He was not the composer for Shining Force, unfortunately. That was another person.
Well, he's connected to Camelot. Camelot would have came after Shining Force.
Exactly. Yeah. But that composer's name is Masuhiko Yoshimura, and they only did, I don't know if it was man or woman, they only did Shining in Darkness and Shining Force. And that was it. That's the only music work they've ever done.
Wow, that's weird.
But back to Camelot Software Planning, aka Sonic Software Planning. They are responsible. Like I said, they're based out of Shinjuku, Tokyo, Japan. They've been around since '94. As of April in 2024, they only 38 employees. That's it. 38 employees have made all these amazing games. Those include Beyond the Beyond, the majority of the Shining series, because they do dip in and out of working on the Shining series or allow...
Well, there's no new Shining games that I know. Well, I guess Residence Refrains a couple of years ago.
It's like 2018, 2019, something like that. But the other cool thing they've done, because how well their games were and their ideas, they kept like, hey, we should try this, let me find out exactly when, but in 1999, so fairly early on in their career, after they were established as Camelot. So 1999, they got their first deal with Nintendo, and since then have made the majority of these versions of that game. But anytime you play a Mario Golf or a Mario Tennis game,
that's what the post was about. Like, why is this amazing company who was making cool RPGs, why are they shoved to the side making Mario sports games?
They make money, and I'm curious, because I think someone mentioned that they're like RPG-like. Their RPGs.
It's still you're smacking a ball back and forth, you know.
But yeah, since 1999, any sort of Mario Golf, and in 2000, any sort of Mario Tennis.
So they did one PlayStation, but they Beyond the Beyond. Why, I wonder why they didn't do, because I'd love, because PS1's like our era, PS1, PS2. I'd love to have them, like Beyond the Beyond had been a franchise, or have multiple PS1 RPGs would have been really cool. It's a great era for RPGs. Sucks they only made one.
Well, because I think that for the most part they were Sega. From they still get credit for Shining in Darkness and Shining Force, since the majority, literally all they did was like literally, like I think it said like 98% of the team switched, and they just started working on their own things. So since '91, they were 91 to '95. They were Sega, Game Gear, Genesis, Sega CD, and then it wasn't until after that when they switched to PlayStation, and then they did something called Everybody's Golf, and then because of how good that went over, then they started making all the other golf games, which is kind of annoying.
What a waste of a good RPG team.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Such a waste of a good RPG team.
But in 2001...
Because we glanced over the Golden Sun. There's 3 Golden Sun games. Those are really, really highly regarded. Two Game Boy Advance and 1 DS RPGs. Really highly regarded. And people have been clamoring for sequels or remakes or something for so long. Granted, 1 and 2 got released on the Nintendo Game Boy Advance thing. So they're more commonly available now. But like... They're making golf games. They should be making these AAA RPGs. They're making golf games.
So Golden Sun, which it's been a minute since I've played them, but I remember really enjoying the art style, the customization you can do with how you create your character, not create your characters, but make your character's abilities.
Move the elemental gen around.
Mm-hmm. But that was 2001 and 2002 for Golden Sun and Golden Sun: The Lost Age, which is a really quick turnaround, but this isn't a Golden Sun game, but they were made concurrently.
Yeah, they're basically, it's a direct sequel.
Yeah. But then from 2003 to 2010 was all golf and tennis. 2010, they were allowed to put out, finally, I don't know how they got it, but they put out the DS version, Golden Sun Dark Dawn.
Yeah, not a version, it's a whole third game.
The third game. And then nothing. From 2010 to 2021, it has been Mario Golf, Mario Tennis. Like, literally, Mario Golf, 2 years later, Mario Tennis. 2 years later, golf, 2 years later, tennis.
Wasting this freaking talent. Just wasting the talent.
Yeah, and that's very irksome. I did want to bring up, though, in my research looking into the writers and stuff, Hiroyuki Takahashi, for Shining Force, he was the creator. He was the designer, the producer, and one of the 4 writers. Mm-hmm. And 2 of the other writers also directed it. But when I looked into them, this is the only game they directed and also the only game they wrote on. So
we'll talk about the Shining Force. Like, we're not... For me, Shining Force 1, we'll talk about more. Like, me, it was the gameplay. The story is kind of like good guys beating bad guys.
Yeah.
Of course, it's like the 1990s. We're not really expecting, or maybe early. When was Shining Force 1?
Shining Force 1992.
92. So it's like, I mean, we expect much. Granted, we should always expect more of our writers, but 92, like good guys beating bad guys. I mean, it's fine.
You didn't have to be as creative because we'll get to it. One of the main bad guy for
Dark Soul.
His name was Dark Soul, and then his true form is Dark Dragon.
Yeah. So
and you are the Shining Force.
Yeah, he's bad.
Yeah. So dark, but.
So the writing is, I mean, it's cool. And there's a bunch of story in it, but you're just chasing this bad guy across the map.
But the cool thing is Hiroyuki Takahashi, the stuff that he did write. He wrote Into Darkness, Shining Force 1, Shining Wisdom, Shining Force 3, and Golden Sun. Just the first one. And then Mario Golf World Tour, but whatever. But it says it's in pre-production, but it says he is the writer for Golden Sun 4. They are working on it.
No way.
It says Golden Sun 4 in pre-production. He's the writer.
How current is that? There's no way.
I know. It just says in pre-production, and I don't know really how to tell when the last time.
They got no years attached to it or nothing.
But they have a producer, the Makoto Sakuraba, the guy I talked about. He will be composing the music for Golden Sun 4.
See, they didn't even announced that, so I don't know if that's real. Man.
I mean, it says it's. I mean, I don't know how accurate it is, but it's on the IMDb page.
Yeah, I mean, it's public. It's unannounced.
It's been mentioned somewhere.
Somebody in an interview mentioned something somewhere.
We have something. So it'd be cool if it gets to come true.
Yeah, a Switch, I guess, Golden Sun game.
Mm-hmm. And that's about it. I hate to dog on the what they've been working on.
12 years of sports games.
Yeah, but they could be making better. Like I could get it. Do a golf game, do a tennis game, do something else.
The current era right now of turn-based RPGs
on the rise,
popping off hard.
With a capital D.
With all the Dragon all the Dragon Quest coming back, like all the PS1 RPGs, turn-based RPGs, relaunching on modern consoles. Like, put the Camelot back on RPGs. They can make you an incredible. Even Bravely Default is coming back on. They're re-releasing Bravely Default 1 onto Switch now. Like they already got Bravely Default 2, but like Bravely Default 1's getting remastered onto like they're just pushing all these turn-based RPGs, and that's where they were the best of that developer. Like we'll talk about the turn-based. And Shining Force is turn-based, and then all the Golden Suns are turn-based, and they're really good at that. I want to talk about. We'll talk about why Shining Force is so good. We'll talk about it here in a minute. They're good at this. They're extremely good at this. And this is the time to put these talented folks back on a high budget RPG, like first party RPG. And it would hit so hard right now. There's not a better time. This is like, we're like living in like a weird age, but I'm going to talk about the podcast. We're like, turn-based and PS1 and all this stuff is coming back at the same time. New metal is coming back in music.
Yeah,
I don't talk about music on the podcast, but new metal is back. Like it's like a huge, like it's back.
Like everything. Well, it's
like it's like that cycle of the world. Everything's cycled back around to like right cyclical. Now. Cyclical turn-based RPGs and new metal are back on. I'm back in the zeitgeist, and we're just like. Yeah, it's a good time to be
fads. Everything's
it's a good time to be alive. Like this is like where it's like all these PS1 RPGs coming back. I mean, it's just crazy. They're pushing so hard. All the Dragon Quest stuff. Like Dragon Quest is coming so hard right now with the Dragon Quest 3 and then 1 and 2. And then you got remakes and then
because everything is going over so well that made the Suikoden put out their remakes. I mean, it's not they weren't super great, but the SquareSoft or Square Enix put out the pixel remasters of all their old. They're you know, and not to mention there's a bunch of other stuff.
This is the last tangent. It's crazy that the turn-based stuff is selling so well that Final Fantasy 16 was not a turn-based Final Fantasy. It's bonkers.
Yeah, and they're like it
underperformed to Square Enix's expectations. Yeah. It's so bonkers that we're not gonna do that. But Final Fantasy 16 was not turn-based. Completely insane. It was the most boring action game I've ever played in my life. Is what it accomplished. But like it's like everything else that Square is doing, all this turn-based stuff, and they're like, action's where it's at. And it's like, yeah, it's the game nobody's talking about, dude. People are loving Dragon Quest 3 and they're losing their minds ready for Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remakes to come out. Anyway, put these people,
talented individuals at making RPGs.
Put them back on RPGs.
And the fact that they have a unique style.
Yeah.
They have a unique style and not necessarily unique combat, but unique abilities with the way that you switch back and forth. I know this isn't the Golden Sun thing. Eventually we're going to do Golden Sun.
Yeah, we're going to do all three. We'll do them not together. We'll do them as a franchise because if nobody's been paying it, what we haven't really said was what we're trying to work through franchises as much as we can. So the idea is right now, we got one coming up. We're working through Wild Arms as a franchise. We got a Wild Arms 2 episode coming up soon, and we're gonna work our way through Wild Arms, and then we'll wait to announce. But after that, we're gonna pivot into another. We're working through big franchises that have multiple games, and Golden Sun has. We might do Beyond and Beyond with the Golden Suns just because it's the same company.
Yeah.
So that's at least 4 games technically in a franchise. So
and maybe by the time we get to it, they'll be like, hey, we're gonna do Golden Sun 4.
Yeah.
Maybe. Fingers crossed. I want to speak it out into the universe so that maybe it will listen and it will come to fruition.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we should probably talk about Shining Force.
Yeah. Real quick, if you guys don't realize by everything I've spoken about, the publisher for the game is Sega. Let me just put that in there.
The original game is on the Sega Genesis, yeah. And then the remake which we haven't had the chance, we didn't play it, but the remake is on Game Boy Advance. I do want to play the remake.
And Sega's been around since June 3rd, 1960. So Sega's been around for a long time.
Not as long as Nintendo.
Yeah, but they've been around for a while. So we're going to talk about Shining Force. It is a tactical RPG.
I'll say real quick. Why did we play Shining Force?
Yes. Why did we decide on this?
I was combing through Ben from One Credit Classics. Go to his channel, watch all his stuff. He has long plays of various games, mostly a bunch of Mario's. I watched him play through Pokemon Red and a couple of other random things. And randomly one time he had a big long play in 21 episodes of a game called Shining Force. I've heard of Shining Force in passing, didn't know what it was. I was like, I like Ben, I like what he does. What's Shining Force? I watched him play, couldn't stop watching it. The game looked awesome, and I caught Blake. I know when I was like halfway through I was like, this looks cool. Like I think you might like this, and maybe I'll dabble because I don't play strategy. I don't play grid-based strategy games normally. I'll dabble. I think you'll like this. And boy, howdy, did we play all the way through this. I couldn't put it down really, basically, because it's such a fun. The way it plays is so fun. We'll talk about why it's so good. But yeah, so we got to thank Ben. Ben, of course, from One Credit Classics. He don't listen to this, but it's because if I never listened to him on Kane and Rants and then never had him on our podcast or watched his videos, we probably would have never played Shining Force. We would have never known to play Shining Force. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Very cool. So go watch Ben's playthrough. We just recently watched his playthrough of Shining Force 2 as well. So he has a full playthroughs of Shining Force 1 and Shining Force 2 on One Credit Classics on YouTube. Go check that out. And now we're going to talk about why we like it so much.
Yeah. I hate to dip back into this, but
we're never going to talk about the game.
Well, I meant to mention this while we were talking. We were unfortunately we were bad mouthing the games, the Mario Golf and Mario Tennis and stuff like that. But I did want to mention that
those games probably have annoyingly outsold everything else they've made.
No, I'm not talking about sales at all. But Shigeru Miyamoto, the bro behind Nintendo, was like, "Hey, while you guys are making tennis, we need to create a double for Wario. Can y'all do that?" So Camelot created Waluigi. They're the creators of Waluigi.
Did not know that. That's cool.
And they only did it because of the tennis game. And Shigeru Miyamoto was like, "Hey, Wario needs a doubles partner."
So random.
And you have to, because it needs to make sense for who else was going to double play with Wario. And so he commissioned them to do that, and then they created Waluigi, and Waluigi's gone on to create a whole life of his own, but they are the creators of Waluigi. That is definitely worth noting more than,
No.
Say what you will, we don't like the Mario, but they created Waluigi, and he, like I said, he's gone on.
Very cool. Yeah.
I did definitely want to mention that. I had a picture of it, I just forgot to mention it when we were talking about it, but definitely worth noting, because that's pretty cool. They created a member of the Nintendo Pantheon, the Mario Pantheon, albeit it's Waluigi, but he's there. He's still
a big enough character now. Yeah, people love Waluigi. Mm-hmm. Anyway, very cool.
Yeah, sorry, I just meant to do that.
Shining Force, tactical RPG. We really dig it. The end.
Yeah.
See you next episode.
Unlike, this genre in general, tactical RPGs, you're always a small force against a much larger force. Mm-hmm. Usually, I've seen them. You get like 5 people, you get 8 people. You get a few. Shining Force is the first time I've ever played and been like, how many people do I get to bring into battle? Because for a long time,
you keep joining. You eventually finally cap at 12.
At 12 people.
12 people in your team when you go into battle. It's awesome.
Now,
there's so many more characters in the game, but you cap at 12. Finally.
There is a total, and now some of these. Oh, this is just the base game. This isn't counting the remake. The remake has a little extra, and I'll talk about them when I get to it. But the base game has 30 characters.
That's wild.
30 separate characters you can get, and some of them are secret and hidden. Yeah. So you can miss them.
There's one joke character.
There, a mascot character, joke character, whatever you want to call him, named Yogurt. He's a hamster with a yogurt. Yeah, it's spelled with a J, but everyone calls him Yogurt. They give the
like yogurt.
Yeah.
It's a hamster wearing a helmet.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, 30 characters on your 12-person parties, and it ranges because the world is quite vast. Mm-hmm. It's not just a bunch of humans. You have a bunch of different races. You have humans, elves, centaur, cantatar, which are like dog people, and then you have birdmen, foxling / vulpes, which are fox people, and then you have I just put monsters.
Whatever Domingo is.
Oh, you have Domingo and Blue and Adam.
Well, Blue's a dragon.
Yeah, Blue, but they're monsters. They're creatures.
I don't know what Domingo is.
Domingo's kind of looks like a heel slime from Dragon Quest. It kind of a little bit with a chef hat. But I just put and monsters because there's a couple of different things. You have Adam, who's that machine. Blue's a dragon. Domingo's that, and then I think there's 1 or 2 other
possibly
things. Like there's 30 characters, and I have a list of all of them. There's a werewolf.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's a wolf man, basically.
Yeah, wolfling.
He doesn't turn back into a human. He's just a wolf guy, wolf man.
But there's a bunch, and like I said, we had 12 people. I think we'll semi talk about our parties a little later in the
we wonder as we watch because we were rewatching Ben's playthrough and we played both of our games. We had similar kind of parties. We did find a tier list, which I think the tier list is probably still a matter of opinion. So we kind of followed a tier list a little bit. But I wonder if the game is designed in a way that you can just use your favorite people. And like, I'm sure you, obviously you can't. So people do solo hero runs.
Yeah.
In Shining Force, which is nuts. But I think it's in a way that like, we think some characters might suck, but I think the way you can play this game is any of your 12 people can be any of the other 30 that you enjoy the most having on your party, and you can play through the game. And I think they eventually can be strong enough to get you through the game. You know,
the tier list we looked at, because obviously I wanted to have the best experience, is they rated some people. It's weird because it's back and forth. People are like, oh, this character sucks, and other people are like, this character is amazing. But one of the characters that you might get him, because through the whole game there are 8 chapters and 30 battles. Mm-hmm. Now we'll talk about it in a minute, but you can replay the battles. Mm-hmm. But during the 30 battles, there might be a character you don't get until about battle 28 or 27.
Yeah, some late game characters.
And they're like, yeah, this character, he's like, that's not worth the time to train him. And other people are like, this character, if you take a moment and you just refight this fight over and over again, you level this dude up, he becomes a god.
Yeah, I think Musashi's another one. Maybe he's pretty
Musashi,
late.
Everything I look at,
and there's a ninja, but like, man, I hate that you get them so late, because like when you talk about grinding them, you be grinding them on like there's like 3 battles left in the game. So you can spend hours grinding up these characters who are going to participate in like 2 more battles.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It sucks for them.
I don't think the game has a new game plus.
I don't know if they even existed back then. Mm-hmm. It just sucks to get characters, like you said, who could be really cool. Who's going to take the time? I bet very rarely people take the time to level up any of those late game characters that late. And because you can literally, like, I think the ninja, there's like a ninja you get with like two or three battles left in the game.
Yeah. And a lot of these things, those individuals are Blue, Adam, Hanzo, and Musashi. And the majority of them...
Blue, you could probably you tried Blue.
I did.
You did do Blue.
It took me a while, but
we'll talk about because you lost your wolf, man.
Yeah, we'll get that in a little while. But like I said, those individuals, Blue, Adam, Hanzo, and Musashi, are some of the last people you get in the game, and like 98% of tier lists that I look at say, oh, Adam's kind of worth it. He's slow, and like Blue's kind of worth it. But everybody agrees that Musashi is S tier. He is the best character. He has the potential to have the highest defense. He has the potential to have the highest attack. Mm-hmm. Though he's one of the slowest. When he hits somebody, it dies.
Yeah,
he's
a samurai.
Yeah, and I will mention all the character designs look really cool. Mm-hmm. And on top of the character designs, weapons change, sort of,
yeah.
Like sometimes it's a palette swap, but like it's crazy that weapons were changing then. You can't get that stuff nowadays, and that's crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so many games don't even do weapons.
And besides that, one of the key cool things that happens in a lot of tactical RPGs is your characters. You can't just willy-nilly change classes like you can in like tactics and stuff like that, but you do get to a certain point. Now it depends on who you are, but you can once you hit level 10, you gain access to promote.
Yeah,
and most people say, like most guides say, it's better to wait to about level 15. If you really want the best character, try to go to level 20, and then promote. Because what happens is when you promote, your character resets back to 1, but with a percentage of their total stats. And so they come back super powered, but they're at level 1 and they're a little harder to get leveled up. But their boosted stats make them.
Promotions are you want to promote.
Yeah, but you want to stave off, honestly, to about 15.
Yeah, or don't promote your whole team at the same time, because you'll level 1 in your whole team and it could be iffy.
It could be a little rough.
It's easy to manage because you have 12 people. Like you're promoting, say you're promoting 1, 2, 3, or even 4 at any given time, and some like Domingo are pre-promoted characters when they join you. Like I think Musashi, Hanzo, and stuff like that. Adam, these are all going to be guys that are pre-promoted.
Adam's not. I think only Hanzo, Musashi,
Domingo,
I think
are pre-promoted.
And Yogurt.
Yeah, well, so maybe so there's not that many pre-promoted characters.
No,
some are pre-promoted like that. They come and they just level up.
And that's another reason why they're so powerful.
Yeah,
because when you get Musashi, he's not on level 1. He's on level 5 or something. Like he's already he's promoted plus level
and leveled up. Yeah. I think I might have. I'm gonna pull my game up here in a minute. I might have dabbled in Musashi at the end. I don't remember. I know I didn't use Adam, and I know I didn't use Hanzo.
I think you tried Adam.
Everybody uses Domingo. We'll talk about Domingo.
Yeah. Well, if you get him.
You can miss Domingo. Yeah,
Domingo is a secret character. There's actually, like I said, there's quite a few secret characters.
Yeah, it's very cool. There's a secret character in the very first fight.
Yeah, well,
basically,
he's semi-secret. You can get him after the first fight.
Can you?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can wander around after the first fight.
You have to walk. You have to go back to town.
He's not in the town though. He's in the place beside the town.
Yeah, but you can you can leave the dungeon and go walk back to town. If you just don't walk that way, because when I looked into him,
missable.
He's a semi-secret character, is what they called him. Because it's like, why wouldn't you go over there? Because it's if you're a fan of RPGs, why wouldn't you explore this random little house that you can go to?
But what's cool about it is when we're watching like we had a little guide too to make sure we didn't miss any characters or any items. Is that you can literally leave the first battle. Like you can we'll talk about Egress here in a minute. You can leave the first battle and go get this additional character right away. It's really cool.
Like I said, so many cool things. Well, would you just spoke?
Did we mention that we like this game?
Yeah, the game is genuinely cool, and I think one of the absolute best features of the game, and a lot of people will say this about tactical games, is that they're slow, they're arduous. You're like, oh, it takes so long. This game moves like combat, like its cursor speed is like jacked up to max, and it will auto target it'll auto trigger to the next character. And the characters their turns are based off their agility
stat. Love that. We'll see. I've played other tactical games where you get to choose who goes next. I get that might be cool for strategy reasons. I want an agility stat. I want the stats of a character deciding who goes next.
Yeah,
I do. So when I check a box for something this game does right, and this is me and Blake's opinion. Check a box. I think you agree, right? You want agility picking your next character.
I'm cool for both, but
you've played so many versions of both.
Yeah, I like both because it lets you build a strategy better. But when you can do that,
what was the one? What was the one we played something recently that was kind of tedious because we kept having to pick our people.
Oh, that was we actually really loved the game, but
the game was great.
Wartales. We had
War Tales. Yeah, check out our YouTube channel for our War Tales videos. War Tales is like this, but you had to choose your people, and I was like, man, War Tales would have benefited from a stat. I wanted War Tales to decide for. I wanted stats to decide for us in War Tales.
And there's a possibility it might have, but it might not have because we were playing that co-op, and that
the way it was designed, it seems like you're choosing your people.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a good.
There's 5 episodes of that on our YouTube. We didn't finish playing it because we encountered a glitch that
wiped our save.
It didn't wipe our save, but it froze it. It like auto saved in a loading screen.
Yeah. We were playing, having a good time. Small tangent. Having a good time. That happened. We went to Google War Tales, and it's like, do not play co-op.
Yeah, the game.
They never fixed it. Which we would Google that before we spent so many hours playing.
So there have been 5 episodes.
Try out War Tales single player.
It's probably 10 or 12 hours we played that game.
Yeah. Anyway,
War Tales is really cool though.
So check the box. Everybody has agility stats. Very important. People get to go. Some people are really really fast and can go. I don't know if anybody goes twice. Nobody goes twice.
No one ever laps.
Yeah. So everybody you have like everybody gets a go. Yeah.
Everybody gets to go. So that's one tick.
And okay, help me brain. Mixed turns.
Yeah.
You enemy, kind of depending on your stats. So it's not like your whole team goes, then the whole enemy goes. It's mixed based on everybody's speed stats, right?
Yep.
This is mixed.
I
prefer that as well. Mm-hmm. I like the enemies being mixed in. So this is the kind of like I'm gonna have a hard time playing any other strategy games after this one.
I mean, it's easy because Tactics does the same thing where enemies will take a turn in between your turns and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been eyeballing Final Fantasy Tactics again. Of course, I've never beat it, but anyway, so 2 things. So that's mixed turns. Love it. Again, this is all preference stuff. So far, this game is like checking the boxes of the things we like. What do you got next?
That's one tick. The other tick, like I said, we've already talked about is
and cannot reiterate how fast the game moves.
It's crazy. It's your cursor. It's like almost like Pong. Bing, bing, bing. It just like so auto fast. Tracks to the next thing.
It moves so fast. I'm surprised that more games across the genre
move fast because we're also playing it digitally and like maybe a slightly enhanced version or something. Maybe it moves
because
fast.
Ben's playing on a ROMs. He's playing he's playing the Genesis ROM. Like that's just how the game moves. You know.
Yeah, it's good then.
So yeah.
Tick number 2 in the good box. Like I said, all the characters look unique and look cool. I like all the looks. The fact that weapons do change, albeit small, but they will change. And then whenever your character promotes, every character, I say every character like it's a big deal, but it kind of is with it being 30 characters. So, well, in this case, it's 26 characters because 4 of them don't. But 26 characters, when you promote them, have a full art change. A full art change. Now, some of them are copies of other ones, so they just do like 2 characters I think you and me both use from the game.
Centaurs?
No, Gordon Luke.
Oh, Gordon Luke. Yeah, they're palette
Their
swaps.
base forms look different, but then their evolved forms, they become the same class, a gladiator, and one's just blue, one's just green.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that's a little, but I get it. I mean, that's a lot of characters, but their base forms looked different. So I get that, but they also evolved into the same class, so that it makes sense they would look similar. But like I say, the majority of the people do look different. So that's tick, 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 and then whenever someone gets a critical hit, there is an additional animation for. And now sometimes it's similar depending on the weapon and equipment, but the majority of people will have especially some of these special characters like Adam, Hanzo, all them, Blue, and a few other people have a unique to them animation, or it's an animation that's taken from like a boss or something. But they have when you ever you get a critical hit, you know you get a critical hit because it does something special.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
Very cool. Another important thing, 100 experience level ups.
Yes.
Experience, how much experience you get based on your level compared to what you're killing. Higher experience for killing tougher enemies, and it goes down as you level up.
Yeah.
Easy way to monitor. Makes it so easy to monitor whether or not you should be grinding in a particular fight.
Exactly.
Experience drops down, you move on to the next fight. You know, it caps in this game. I think it changes in Shining Force 2. I've only watched Ben's videos. This caps at the most you can get is 48 experience from a kill.
Or from an action, not necessarily a kill, but from an action, because you got some.
Well, I guess you could, yeah, but mostly kills. You get more experience for kills.
Yeah.
So 48. So, and then it goes down as you level up in any given fight. So then you hit 100 experience, and I love it 100 experience. I think only this. Suikoden.
I think a lot of tactical games will do the
100 experience level up.
Some of the early ones. It's been like I haven't played every single one of them, but they range. But yeah, because I know the Suikodens do that.
At least I don't know if all of them do. At least one and two. One and two.
I think 1, 2, 3. I think they do.
2 and 3.
I
Okay.
think it's a Suikoden.
The whole franchise might. Very cool.
They say and it gives you a good means of grinding, like. Because
it's so much easier to manage that. I need 100 experience. I went from getting 40, now I'm getting 20. I could grind a little bit longer, but maybe I should move on instead of like I got 45,000 experience. I don't know. You know, it's just like come on. This doesn't have to be complicated to like it's so much easier. I'm sure it's easier for the developers to manage these numbers and math it out. You know, to figure it's got to be easier on them, and it feels better hitting that solid 100, hitting a level up. I don't know if. I don't think it does. I think when you hit 100, you level. I don't think experience doesn't roll over.
So if you get if you're sitting at like 99 experience, you kill something that gives you 45. You
level up and you go back to 0.
It doesn't roll over.
Yeah, I don't know. Some games might. I feel like some Suikodens roll over. I don't know because that's like changing the math too. Because the math suddenly changes when you level up. Because suddenly you get. I see why.
Yeah.
Because when you level up, you would suddenly be getting less experience from
exactly.
that.
So I think it makes sense that
to zero out,
it null out.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Zero out, yeah. So it does do that at least. But we check that box. We love that. On the same vein, boy howdy do level ups matter.
Yes.
So exhausting to play video games, RPGs where level ups you just have no sense of them meaning anything.
You don't feel any stronger after a level up.
Case in point again, why do you level up in Final Fantasy 16? I don't know. I have no idea. It doesn't do anything. It does absolutely nothing in Final Fantasy 16. I would say vast majority of RPGs, that's maybe too steep. But a lot of RPGs you play, you don't feel your level ups. We love it.
That's also, you're prioritizing a turn-based over an action-based.
Exactly.
Most action-based RPGs, level ups, because it's like, oh, I'm seeing a number that's arbitrary do more, but I'm still just mashing A, hit this enemy like 15, 17 times before they die. Mm-hmm. That's the problem with not necessarily 16, but action RPGs as a total. Our favorite game to level up in, I'm going to say it, see if you agree, our favorite game to level up in, Legend of Legaia. It has the most, like, you can track, because you have the spirit bar and stuff like that. Yeah, but the increase of strength, and then enemies doing less. I feel like Legend of Legaia is a great example. Do you have another example, maybe? You didn't sound like you agreed with me. I feel like Legend of Legaia is a good one. Legend of Legaia is fantastic. Yeah. When you level up, I did something recently. Ooh, that sounded... Now, it wasn't like I wasn't like blown away with it, but I will say this: I love when this happens.
Taking 0 damage.
Yes, taking 0 damage. I did that recently in my playthrough. Drew did too. We played through Wild Arms 2.
Yeah.
And you can, augment some of these like stats, these skills and stuff. And then like as you're going through the game, I'll have a boss and he'll be like, he'll run up and like physical attack one of my characters. And they'll like, two things happen. Either the boss can't land a hit. It's like, miss, dodge. Or when they hit and it does like the animation of the hit. And you're like, yeah. And it's like 0 damage. Like I love taking 0 damage.
I had a lot of that in a recent, because I'll talk about it in an episode. And we already did our Legend of Dragoon episode, but we'll talk about it later. I played Dragoon again for the trophies, and there's instances there of 0 damage and stuff like that. Dragoon's not on my list of favorite games, but I say Legaia, you're saying Wild Arms 2 did it kind of recently.
Just recently, but I do like Legaia.
I don't want to tangent too hard, but like level up's mattering in games.
It matters.
I mean, I've been playing a whole bunch of Dragon Quest recently. It matters in Dragon, like little level ups in Dragon Quest, because Dragon Quest is about a classic RPGs you can get. So when you level up in those games, it matters.
I think for me, it's just most in general, and like turn-based RPGs, you can notice the level up tick. You're like, oh, it's taking me 2 turns to kill these enemies that I'm training with, and then you realize, oh man, it's taking me 1 turn, and then you're like, oh, it's just 1 character, I don't even get to finish a turn and everyone's dead, because and stuff like that, because it also has like, resource management with like MPs and stuff like that.
But needless to say, to run it back to Shining Force, is you can go when you're grinding a fight, which we will talk. We did, of course. There's good fights. You go from 2 or 3 people having to hit an enemy to eventually you level up enough times at that fight that one person by themselves will go and kill that enemy.
Sometimes in 1 hit.
Sometimes in 1 hit, yeah. So it's really cool to watch that change, because they're leveling up and becoming more powerful.
I don't know what the stat was, but occasionally, it might be an agility stat, honestly. But occasionally, a character would hit twice.
Yeah, it seems to be.
I think it may have been an agility thing.
Yeah, we don't know what stat affects it. Same thing with enemies do that crap too.
Same thing. So sometimes you're like, oh man, I needed like 10 damage to hit this enemy, and you hit him for like 8. You're like, oh, and then out of nowhere they'll just be like, 2nd hit. You're like, yes, it's pretty dope. But I don't know what that stat was. But occasionally, and that's not something that happens in a lot of RPGs where your character, even tactical, unless there's specific skills designed for that. Yeah, but twice. Everyone had a chance.
2 hit, yeah.
Everybody had a chance to hit twice, including enemies. So that was pretty cool.
Except your mages won't cast spells twice.
No, they will be. But physical attack, sure, but anyone using ability or skill, no, thank you.
So level ups rock. Getting new weapons, awesome. Getting new armor, awesome.
Yeah, and
is there armor?
Yeah,
there's armor.
It's armor, shields. I don't think it's shields.
Is there armor in Shining Force 1?
Yeah, you wore armor.
Brain work.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, we talking about grinding and level ups matter. Now we're going to talk about how you grind. We mentioned earlier that you can replay the battles. You can't just you can replay them infinitely until you win the fight. When you actually win the fight,
that fight's gone.
The fight is gone. There is no going back. And so because of that, we did find it's easy enough to Google. Like each chapter has a specific best fight to grind.
Fight this fight a bunch. Yeah.
Fight this fight a bunch. Grind this fight out. Make sure all characters.
There's a lot of factors. There's factors, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, we talk about them right now.
Yeah. So the factors for a fight are key things. So first of all, how do you refight a fight? You don't want to kill the last enemy because the fight's over. You can't go back. So how do you refight a fight? The main character, at least we haven't played Shining Force. I know he has it in Shining Force. The main character, hero, has a spell called Egress. First time I've seen that spell in a video game or anywhere. I'm guessing the word. Do you know what the word egress means? I don't even know if it's a real.
Maybe it's like it means the egress then that going down, going backwards.
Maybe
or something.
So I don't know the official definition for egress, but it has a spell, and what egress does is warps you safely out of a battle, everybody out of the battle, to the last priest you talk to. This game uses priests, kind of like Dragon Quest, to save your game, cure poison, take curses, and revive your characters, and promote actually.
Just so we're aware, so we're not stupid. Egress, like I'm right. Egress literally means the action of going out of or leaving a place.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so egress. Yeah. So it's perfectly named. So
and we use it as a noun.
Only the hero learns egress. 2 things. Hero also, you lose a battle completely if the hero is killed. You do lose. I saw it on Ben's video, Blake. You do lose half your money.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up right here. This is kind of a statement from like the Wikipedia, I guess. But I'm just going to read this real quick and then we'll get back to it. battle goals for the player are fairly simple. Kill all the enemies, or kill the enemy's leader, or advance to a town or landmark. Because sometimes you don't battle in a specific spot, you battle on the world map. I don't like those as much.
I don't like the world map battle. Yeah, it's cool that it's there, but they're slower.
We'll get to those in a minute. So your leader, Max, has the ability of casting Egress. So that'll automatically restart the fight.
However, it doesn't restart the fight. It warps you to the last priest you talked to.
Yeah, the last priest you talked to. So one of the things that this is designed for, this is even if the player army is completely defeated, player Max included, you don't lose any of your experience. You lose your money. That you use half your money.
Thankfully, we'll talk about money is not hard to get.
Not if you can win your fight.
Oh no, you get money. Every enemy you kill, you get money.
Yeah, you get a pretty good chunk of change. But you can, if you everyone's dying every time, then that could add.
It could be expensive.
It could get very expensive. Because how they calculate the death is that your character's level times 100.
Times 10.
Times 10. Oh yeah, times 10.
You said a 0 on another level is what it costs to level.
Yeah, times 10. So if you're level 2, it costs $20. Level 3, $30, so on and so forth. But then once you get promoted, then it's like a little extra.
Yeah.
But the whole point of that was it's to make the game like they said that no matter what, you can eventually win any fight.
Yeah.
Any fight.
I wouldn't say there's hard fights, but this game lets you advance enough that this isn't the hardest. By far not the hardest game I've ever played, but you do get into sticky. There's a bridge battle we'll talk about. There's some sticky situations, but like they said, they designed it in a way. If you keep failing, I mean, eventually you're gonna make it. Now, we knew enough about video. We're not pros. We knew enough about how, and I'd watched Ben's playthroughs. I had a couple of hints, and we had a guide. Not a guide. We didn't follow a guide for how to do the fights. We followed a guide on because there's a lot of hidden items. We wanted the hidden items. And we wanted all the characters.
I talked to
I didn't want to follow a guide for the combat because that's
he had suggested strategies.
It had it, but I didn't bother because I wanted
to skip the fights.
I wanted to play Anyway, so egressing, the priest can revive your dead characters. Anybody who's alive is just heal. You're just healed after battle. Outside of battle, your team's health and MP
fully healed.
Always restore as long as they're alive.
So there's no reason to not
go all out on
buck wild
and your spells. Yeah, usually. So you egress. So like say the easiest example is the first fight. You just egress out you go back to the first town, and you just walk along the world map to go back to the first fight, which is like right over to the left. It's like right there, or you can go to the right and you get
the semi-secret character name. We're not gonna name every character, but I will name a couple of ones that are interesting.
He's kind of important because he's good attack power and healing really early.
Yeah, Gong is his name's Gong, and he's a monk, and he's a fairly versatile character. Mm-hmm. Because he is powerful, and he has
we'll say powerful as in like he does taper out strength wise eventually, but very powerful for a long time.
For me, Gong he's an honorable mention though. He was in my party for a long time because like I said, he's a monk. Monks are powerful. One thing I'm going to put a tick in the con box here. I'm going to mention it. This is the reason why.
There's something wrong with this game.
Mm-hmm. So you have very, very limited item space.
Yeah.
Every character can hold up to 4 items.
The game's designed around it, I feel like.
Yeah. Every character can hold 4 items, including the weapons and or accessory that they have equipped. So that could be like a healing item.
There's not armor in the first game.
There's not armor. No.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about the menus. There's not armor in the first game.
You have weapon, and then you have an accessory, and then you have a slot for healing slots. Or for whatever.
Yeah.
So every character has 4 slots for carrying some sort of item. Mm-hmm. And now that is the extent of your inventory.
Yeah, there's no storage in this Shining Force.
If all your characters have 4 items held, you cannot pick up the item. You have to toss something. You have to do something.
You're saying that you shouldn't be running it. You should not be running it.
It happens sometimes, at least for me, because I hoard items. I didn't really need healing items, so I started tossing my healing items after a while. I was like, I'm doing pretty good. I kept these things called heal showers because they heal. They were pretty powerful, but like your basic herb and your heal leaf and anything that restored mana, I kind of just like.
I don't know there was really any mana.
It's like there is, but it's not super potent. I have a list here of all the items. I'm not going to go into detail all of them because the other thing you had, which doesn't make any sense, you had the herbs, the heal seeds, antidotes for curing poison, which I got poison and I fell asleep a couple of times, but it wasn't devastating. And then like
it can be.
It can be. Then you just egress and you're just like, there's no point. And then once you egress, you're fully healed.
Yeah.
So I didn't keep any of those. And there's an item also called an angel wing, which lets you teleport back to the Friar. You can just egress because two things.
Maybe if the hero's in dire straits and you need an emergency out, maybe.
I mean, maybe, but then
If he dies, you lose anyway.
Yeah, if he dies, you lose half your money, and you do.
We'll note that for some reason the hero, what you say is Max.
Max.
He gets MP boosts, but Egress is the only spell he learns in Shining Force.
It only costs 1 MP.
I think it costs does it cost 1 or 8?
Just 1 MP.
Maybe. Egress is all he learns. I think he actually learned. I think the hero learns other spells in Shining Force 2. Mm-hmm. But in Shining Force 1, it's all he learns. So I understand his level up's giving him MP.
But the Shower of Cure fully heals all characters on screen.
Dang.
Fully heals all characters. Actually, no, it just says fully heals all characters, not on screen, but fully heals all characters. So that's why those are worth having.
I don't know if I ever even used one.
And then these are the ones that took up a lot of space. You have stat up items, and I'm like, I don't know, because I didn't realize there were 30 characters in the game and stuff like that. But I'm like, I don't know what characters I'm going to use. Yeah. So I ended up holding on to a lot of those.
And any soft googling tells you to not use any of those until the character's promoted.
Yeah. And sure enough, I'm pretty sure I wasted some on the main character before I read that. And then everyone says don't waste them on the main character because he becomes
the main character is so powerful.
Yeah, anyway. He becomes, because you can solo the game with Max.
Mm-hmm. He's ridiculously strong.
Yeah. So those took up, those can take up space and stuff like that. And then of course, anyone holding a weapon. Now the only time this matters is most of your people will only carry one weapon. But your people who can use a lance,
spears,
you can use lance and spears. Spears give you a long range that you can attack.
Throw them.
You can throw them, and your lances are just the cardinal directions. North, up, down, left, right.
Tend to be a little bit stronger.
Usually quite a bit stronger.
Yeah, but you lose that distance.
And sometimes you want the distance. So a lot of times a good strategy is to have those guys carrying a spear and lance so that you can...
Which I never did. I didn't think about it until I literally saw, when we were watching Ben do Shining Force 2, I saw him doing it in Shining... I don't think he does it in Shining Force 1. I didn't think about doing that because there's no... You can swap it and still attack. Yeah. At least in Shining Force 2. I don't know about Shining Force 1.
You can
I never thought to switch to a more powerful... Switch to the more powerful, have both and switch. I just never thought to do that.
Because my strategies became like if I was surrounding somebody, to go ahead and just get the dudes I know they didn't have options. All my short range characters were like all the directions, and I put my long range people in the corners,
further back.
Yeah, and then but that's the only other thing I'd recommend. Again, you got to think about the item space too. Do you want this character having two weapons, or are you tight for item space? It depends on how often you hoard items. And like I said, with the secret characters, there's a couple of them. There's not just 4. There's a couple of them. You can miss Yogurt. You can miss Domingo. You can miss you can miss quite a few.
I think you can miss Blue, can't you?
You can miss. I don't think you can miss Blue.
You're not.
I think you get, but I'm not gonna say you can miss like
you can miss Xylo because you did accidentally.
You there's probably about 5 or 6 characters you can miss, which also hurts your item space. So the biggest, one of the bigger negatives, maybe the biggest negative, is the super vast limited inventory space. Which maybe
that's if you're hoarding the stat items.
Yeah,
and once you promote. I mean, you're not hoarding them no more.
Exactly. So it kind of takes care of itself. But that is a tick. It is the resource.
Which Shining Force 2 almost immediately addresses by having a storage place.
Yeah, there's like a storage wagon. Now this is like a cool thing and a bad thing is we
done tangented so far away from how to grind.
We talking about grinding, aren't we?
We're originally, it's fine. Go. I mean, we're talking about everything. We've tangented so far away from how grinding is egressing out the points that make grinding good grinding spots. There's factors. There's distance you have to walk to get back to the fight, how close the enemies are to you in the fight. Those are kind of like the main 2 points it talks about when you Google this stuff. If you have to sometimes you egress and you have to walk really far to get back to that fight. Yeah. And how close the enemies are. All the fights that we end up grinding, the enemies are almost right on top of you when the fight starts. You don't want to. I did grinding on one big map fight one time because I just wanted to level up some. I would not recommend, because there's world map fights and then there's like interior fights, like inside map fights. I would probably never really grind the world map fights. It's cool the world map fights exist, but so you want to have short walk to the fight, which is really easy on the first fight, and then and those enemies are right on top of you as well. So it's like a good training part in that first fight. Is like the enemies are on top of you.
The cool thing about that, specifically the first fight, is it's almost designed for you to grind.
Because it can be a hard fight.
It can be a rough fight because you can do that fight, egress out, and be like, oh, what's this house over here? And you can get Gong, again, one of the reasons Gong is powerful because he's a monk who hits really hard.
And he has a healing spell.
And he has a healing spell.
We're all over the place.
Yeah, I know, you need that early on. But this first fight, because you fight a couple of the weaker enemies like a goblin and some other things like an archer.
There's something. I don't think any archers yet, but
yeah. But the main thing is this silver knight, this silver centaur, and he moves up. He's at the highest point in the map.
He won't move,
and he won't move.
Yeah,
he literally you could be one space away from him, and he will not move to attack you. He'll attack you if you are next to him. So it's like designed that you kill everybody. And you're like, okay, let me egress out, and you just keep. And the best thing I did was I got all my characters to 5 right there, and that's 4 or 5.
Yeah, five's probably pushing it.
Yeah, I think that experience starts getting real lacking. But about 4 or 5. 5 if you can stomach it. 4 is pretty good. And the hardest thing to level up are healers, unfortunately.
Yeah, all the way until like when Chris eventually learns Aura. But it's so hard to level up because healers consistently get 10 experience for every time they heal somebody. And imagine you got to heal 10 times.
Oh, like I said, and you can hit somebody and kill somebody if you can plan it right, but you're hitting them with a stick.
You have to plan it. It's doable.
Yeah, it's
doable. Which you do if you really want to. Like somebody's got 1 or 2 health. I mean, let dude run up there and take a whack.
You got to plan it, but you got to be careful because most of the time mages are like not mages, but your healers, your clerics, vicars, priests are like the last people to move.
Yeah,
and it's
really slow.
Yeah, but you can do it.
Aura changes that. Aura is a group healing spell. Man, Aura changes the game. I think Chris and one other healer might learn Aura. I don't think your first guy gets it.
No,
and surely Gong does not get Aura. Aura is a group healing, and that goes from like 10 experience where you hit an area and you'll get like 30 or 40 if you hit each person you hit with Aura. You get 10 experience. So that Aura changes the game for healers.
Yeah, it does. What it is. One of the things is...
I know there's so much to talk about.
So much to talk about. So I'm trying to get my thoughts straight. I want to finish talking about the grinding, which I think we have. The ability to egress and just keep refighting the fight over again.
And you watch till the experience... It's up to you. Experience drops. It'll go from 40, 48. It takes a pretty good dip. It'll be like in the 30s,
it's usually like
20s.
It's usually... And not this isn't precise, but it's usually halves. You do 48, and then it's like 24... experience, and then it's like 12.
You will bottom out to 1.
Yeah,
you kill stuff and get 1 experience. So if you're doing that character, you need to stop. Which you run into that with mages. We'll talk about mages here in a second. You run into that with mages because mages are really powerful in Shining Force 1 and 2. Sometimes you have to have mages take a step back while everybody else gets kills.
Because as you level up your mages, and we just spoke about Aura, so I think now's a good time to talk about magic in general. There are some other spells that I never bother with. You have like...
Nobody does. Fuddle and sleep.
Yeah, you have like sleep, shield, attack ups, attack... I didn't bother trying to put any of the enemies to sleep or making them weak, but... I did see, I didn't think about it until after the fact, but it says later on in the game, the only character who gets an attack up skill is Domingo. And he starts with it, but you can cast attack up on a character that you're training to make it easier to train. Or even cast it on.
I never did that.
Yeah.
I would have never thought to do that.
Me either. I was
so stupid.
Or you just get him down, hit him.
So stupid, man.
But that is a strategy that I saw people using with Domingo, is having him cast attack up on.
That's such an obvious thing to do. Because Domingo does not need levels.
No. I'll mention that in a minute because I wrote down my entire party and their levels.
Yeah.
So that I can kind of chit chat about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But
we'll wrap up with our final team.
Yeah.
I don't want to dig too deep.
No, we'll do a team check at the end or something. But that's a cool strategy that people were using to figure out that. But besides that, I never cast any of the status effect spells. But the main spells. Now there are Blaze, Freeze, and Bolt. Okay. And there is Blaze. There is 1, 2, 3, 4 levels of each spell. And so basically it just goes, and of course each level, you can control which level you cast, but each level takes up more MP. And so at first it's like, a single target, and then it targets an area, and then it targets further away. It's like further away, single shot, and then the further distance for an area of effect. And that can, sometimes it's better to just cast the single one on the enemy just to try. And of course, if I remember correctly, that might just be because we're watching Ben, one Critic Classics, play Shining Force 2. But I think your attack is divided. The total damage is divided amongst the enemies that are in the area of effect to keep it from being too powerful. But when your mages, the reason we're talking about mages can sometimes be overpowered, is your mages will, every time they hit somebody with a spell, they get experience. And if they kill 2 or 3 people, they get a bunch of experience, but the experience does cap at 48. So you want to be careful. Again, cool, let them hit all enemies, but you don't want them to kill all 3 enemies. So you have to be kind of strategic about it.
It happens, though. Yeah. Sometimes they're so strong, it sucks.
But you do, like I said, you do have the 3 things. You have you have Frost, Freeze, and Bolt, and there tends to be only one mage in the game that can take that one up to its max.
Yeah, it's like their specialty or something. Usually.
Yeah, and you can tell because they'll usually start with that spell. There's the only one that duplicates for some reason. Well, not for some reason, it makes sense. Is Freeze. There's 2 Freeze people. One of them is Domingo, who's a secret character, and the other one's a character you can't miss. So that makes sense why there's 2 of those. And then for the aura, I didn't realize this. There is you have aura, which again you have aura and heal. Heal no matter what targets one person, but it either heals a bunch, and you can heal further away. You can target further away from you. Aura, same thing. You can, but it's the group heal.
I think it's from like one group to like a large group. I feel like is what it does.
It's a bigger group. Yeah,
there's only 2 levels of aura, ain't there?
No. I didn't find that out until after the fact. There's a whole other priest that you get. His name, I
saw him on the list here. He's not on my party. Is this last Vicar?
Yeah, his name
I was looking just now.
His name is Torasu.
Yeah, I see him here.
He is, without a doubt, the best healer in the game because
I didn't use him yet.
I didn't either because I didn't really.
He joined so late.
He joins really late on top, so that makes him difficult to train up. But he is the best healer because he's the only. He has some like 1 or 2 other abilities that do, but he's the only healer that will learn Heal 4 and Aura 4. And Aura 4 is a shower. It just heals everybody, max HP.
Unnecessary.
But I think it might take like a good chunk of your MP bar.
Yeah.
But it says he is the best healer in the game because he gets 4 both. But I didn't use him. I was actually.
Chris,
I was fairly satisfied with Chris and her aura, and the majority of the game I was using Gong, who was a backup healer.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I was like, I'm hurt. How many enemies are left? And I'm like, I could just heal them at the end of the fight. Or I could just go back to the... very, very rarely, I don't think it ever did, would it prevented you... Because usually after a fight, in some cases, if it were a big fight, like a world map, you could just go back to the town you were in.
I don't think... There's not a fight in the game that you can't egress from.
Yeah.
That never stops you from egressing from any fight.
Exactly. So like if you like beat a fight and the game immediately starts another fight, you egress out of that fight and you don't have to redo the fight in front of it because there are sometimes back-to-back fights, but you are fully healed in between the fights, but you can get into a tight pickle. Yeah. But so the mages can become overpowered and
easily
90%. There's a 98% chance that you will use every mage in the game.
I'm curious of doing a no mage run if we ever play Shining Force 1 again, because just to make spots for these other characters,
just to try out some other people. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Because I just scrolled my list of characters right now. It's like I don't even recognize half these folks. I didn't use them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, me too. When I was going through the list,
like earlier you mentioned Fox people. I was like, "There's Fox people." And I'll open my character list. There's a Fox dude, and I was like, "Who's this guy?"
Aleph.
I'll look.
But he's the other frost mage besides Domingo.
Oh, really?
That's what it is.
Oh, he's another mage then.
I think it's Aleph. It's one of the foxes.
Yeah, Aleph.
I'm pretty sure.
I know that was a mage. Yeah, wizard level 1.
Yeah, he's
never used him.
Wizard means he's promoted.
So it's another promoted person. You mentioned there wasn't that many promoted ones.
I thought there wasn't, but he has a.
Yeah, he's promoted.
Because when I went through my list, it had their icons. It had a pre-promote and post-promote, and only
so many centaurs.
There's a lot of centaurs.
6 centaur characters.
There's a bunch of them. So there's a lot of characters, and they'll have. There's obviously some bad ones and stuff.
I don't know if there's. It's a way you can use anybody you like.
One of the things I talked about,
because with the guide, I don't think I missed any character. I think I have all the characters.
It's like the 4 healers in the game, which are Gong, Lo, Tarasu, and Chris. And a lot of people, they're like, Tarasu obviously hands down the best one, but he's also
so late.
He's so late, so it's difficult to use him. but he also he can't take a hit.
Yeah.
And it says same thing with Chris. Chris can heal a group, but she can't take a hit. It says Low of all the healers has the highest defense. So he gets
If you're playing right, they shouldn't be in any kind of danger.
Yeah, they keep him back or whatever.
Especially with auras having distance and stuff on him. He's probably. I mean, Chris seems like the obvious way to go.
Yeah, she's the path of least resistance because you get aura, and well, she has heal too. She has I think heal 2 and aura 2 is what she gets. She's a middle ground of both. Low gets all the way up to heal 4. Tarasu gets all the way up to heal and aura 4, and then Gong I think he gets heal 2. I can heal at a distance.
Yeah.
But because he's mostly a fighter, you might get 2 heals out of him, like for emergency.
You get a handful.
You get a handful, but you get enough for it to matter.
Yeah, especially early on. Yeah.
And same thing for mages. Like I said, it's better. Sometimes it's better to just hit one enemy than hit a group, just because.
Yeah.
I think what's the wrong for? I think I'm spinning my wheels here. We're talking about the magic. There's 30 fights. We're not going to talk about every single fight.
No. We'll talk about let's talk about the two biggest fights you grind. Yeah. But you know which ones? The one with the puppets and the one with the bats. And then we talk about the bridge, I think, and the last boss if you want to.
Yeah, hold on. I forgot to do this earlier. Here we go. Okay, yeah. Okay. One final thing about grinding, and then we'll do this. We played this, like I said, on the Switch, and so we cheated a little bit.
We've talked about we're babies.
Yeah, we're babies, and I have no qualms, playing the odds. And so what you can do on the Switch is you have obviously save states
and rewind,
and you can rewind. Now, how it works is if you do a turn and a character misses, you have to rewind and retry the turn. You can't just move to the exact same spot. You got to try moving to the left of the enemy or behind you. If you do the same thing, you get the same result. So you have to finagle the system a little bit, but you can re-roll misses. Or if you get hit and a character dies, you can re-roll that sometimes.
Also re-rolling the freaking bats putting you to sleep.
Yeah, you can re-roll put to sleep because those bats will put you to sleep, and that sucks. Besides that, I found out by accident.
Well, I found out re-roll.
You found out.
I found out by accident you can re-roll level ups. We thought everybody's level ups were predetermined, which I think I
want a predetermined level up.
Probably. It's a mix. So this game
I want a predetermined level up.
Yeah, you do. I'm kind of mixed on it because this game makes me kind of mixed. So I had an incredible level up one time. I was like, holy crap, I got to rewind and show Blake this level up. I'm going to rewind to where I level up and it's going to show me this. The stats will roll by again. Blake can see. Rolled back, went to show Blake, not the same level up. And I was like, this is late. And this is like halfway through the game. And I was like, oh, this isn't locked in.
Yeah.
And I did not get that level up again. So then we started deciding to re-roll your level ups. And what we did, our main goal was level up fighters as long as they got an attack up.
Yeah.
And mages as long as they got MP. That's about all we rewound. Still a lot of rewinding sometimes.
Yeah.
We round a level
because
up.
every now and again someone will level up and you won't get any stat up.
You get nothing.
That sucked.
So random.
Yeah.
That's a random thing. But I would rewind and make sure my fighters at least got attack +1 at least. Yeah. And mages at least got an MP at the very least. So you can rewind.
Getting defense, HP, and agility were secondary. I wanted attack and MP.
Yeah, so you can, if you play on the Switch online version, you can rewind your level ups, you can rewind misses, you can rewind getting put to sleep and poisoned, or both.
But to that point, there are keystone level ups, which we noticed sometimes every now and then.
Yeah, massive ones. Well, I mean, you would think, but I had the one where I rewound that one and didn't get it.
But every now and again, you'd get one, and rewinding it, you'd get either, it'd be one thing, you'd get +1 to 3 stats, or one stat would get +3. And you'd have to rewind till you got the one you wanted. Mm-hmm. So that could be a little tedious, but it takes literally seconds. It was and it's seconds to rewind. But there are keystone, milestone level ups that every character gets, and I don't think it was the same level for everybody. I don't know, it wasn't odds or evens or every fifth
and
level.
They would. I would say more. You get bigger level ups when they're promoted. In general, I feel like after they promote.
Yeah. Yeah. Once they promote, the stat boosts tend to be a lot bigger.
Yeah. So that's our baby mode playing the game. Just rewinding misses and then rewinding. We'll late game, halfway through or more, figuring out that we can rewind level ups. So Is that cheating? Yeah, it's cheating. But rewinding a miss is just expediting how long this fight takes. Are you reading something over there?
Yeah, I thought I took a picture of something because I have my note app and it says see pictures, and I'm looking. Okay, I have it with a single picture right here. Prompt. Okay, cool. Sorry.
Is that relevant what we're talking about?
Oh, it will be because we're going to talk about probably, like I said, we're going to talk about one really probably the most unique fight in the game. Honestly,
you want to do a grind? Let's talk about the two big grind. We'll do the two big grinds.
We do three because you do that. We talked about that first fight.
We already passed that one though. You want to grind the first fight because it's nice and it's close, everything like that. I think the second one that comes up will be the circus tent. That's before the docks. Yes, it's definitely before the docks because you grind the heck because you're promoting the docks. You're promoting.
Well, another one you can do too is the fight right before you get Xylo because it's a mine and you can farm that.
That's a big map though.
No, it's curvy. It's optional, but yeah.
The circus tent is key because
circus tent and the docks.
Circus tent mainly because the cool thing about that one is that that fight can be really hard when it starts. Map is literally you walk outside the church, down around the corner, and you're walking to the circus tent. It's close.
Yes,
walk in the tent. Close. The enemies are on top of you. The tent's not that big, and so. And another thing we mentioned is number. Of course, I want to say the third tick for a good grind is number of enemies because every fight has a lot of enemies. Yeah. But there's a lot of these little marionettes and puppets, and they're on top of you. What's cool about this fight, and you don't get this so much on the dock fight because those enemies aren't as strong. These puppets are dangerous when you first start grinding this fight.
They're magic users. There's fire.
Yeah, this fight is dangerous.
Puppets are fire and marionettes are ice, I think.
Yeah, this fight's dangerous when you start it. Mm-hmm. So it takes a couple of sessions to kind of turn this fight into your favor. But this fight's you can level up so much and power your team up so much. It's such a great spot. So when you get to it's an easy marker too, like how many circus tents are in this game. Mm-hmm. Cool. The circus tent fight, grind it when you play this game. Grind that heck out of that fight because it's gonna be you'll be scared at first because those puppets will be like laying magic in your party and just egress and try again. Get the heck out of there.
They're using level 2, so you got to plan your strategy. Well, okay. I want to mention this too about the magic part of the strategy is it only. Trying to think. In some tactical RPGs, you can target an empty tile.
You can't in this one.
You can target an empty tile that people are surrounding, and you can hit the people. In this one, you can only target an individual. Mm-hmm. So you got to keep that in mind when you're moving your people. You don't want to move your people side by side.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going against a bunch of magic
stuff. You always put a space between all your people.
Dark mage, dark priest, marionettes. And there's things that you obviously are magic used, but you got to plan your strategy and make sure you're 6 feet apart. You keep in proper safety space in case someone sneezes or coughs.
Fireballs.
Exactly. But yeah, so yeah, that is another thing because you do start close together. So you start
every fight in your 12 people lined up.
Yeah, so you got.
It's not like because I think other games will have like even Final Fantasy Tactics, stuff like they have formations or you place them in different spots, kind of. Or sometimes they break your party up, they shatter your party across the map. Sometimes some games do. I don't think your party's ever split in Shining Force 1. I don't think
that I can remember. Like 1 or 2 times where like the hero part of the story he's investigating things. There's a church that I'll talk about later. That I think is really cool. Yeah. But he walks up and he's by himself, all your guys are, and he has to like sprint to them because he's surrounded.
Yeah, that's like cool. So the circus tent fight,
circus tent,
grind the heck out of it.
Yes.
Is that fight you just mentioned? Is that before? That's before the docks. So that's the one time you say you get screwed. You're investigating this strange town.
I do like that. It's called the Shady Abbey. I wrote it down. It's actually the first note I took in the game because I was like, oh yeah, I should take notes about the game, but nothing really stood out. So it's called the Shady Abbey, and you're walking through, and you talk to everybody. And everyone's got random bit of dialogue. Hey, how you doing? What's up? How's it going? You talk to everyone in town, and then you make it to the church in the very back. And as you walk into the church, the music changes. It's kind of like a subtle change, and you're like, what? And you go to leave, and all the villagers are lined up out the church, and you're like, uh-oh. And you take a step, and they all take a step, but they won't take a step backwards, they'll take a step forward. So as you're progressing up the screen, they continually make you have less and less screen. And then when you try to talk to them, they just keep repeating their line of dialogue, and that like, in itself is genuinely creepy. They just imagine a horde of people.
There's even a random guy in the town that's like, this place is creepy.
Yeah. But just like, it's a cool vibe. It only happens like the one time, but it was genuinely kind of creepy. Like, imagine that, like, it's slightly better graphics or something like that, where it's just a bunch of people just repeating a single line of dialogue.
I wonder how it plays in the remake, the GBA remake.
Because at the very back of the church is you help Birdman. It's the first Birdman.
Balthoroy.
Yep. Balboy.
I think his name.
Because you get a couple. There's like Aemon, Balboy, and one other.
Yeah.
But then that fight, once you trigger that fight, he's like, it's a trap, Admiral Akbar style. And then all these undead people.
Balboroy, we had it. So Aemon, Balboroy are the two Birdmen in the game.
And then they start the church fills with undead, and then your main character is your party's at the start of the church. He's at the not the steeple, at the podium, I guess, at the front. Whatever that proper term is, that is the podium at the front, where he would parapet. Whatever.
That's not a parapet.
It's whatever he's, where he's at the front of the church. I don't know, Abbey. So you have to try to beeline.
That's also not it. You said Abbey, like that's like the whole building. Anyway,
it's the Shady Abbey. That's what it is. It's an abbey.
Well, the Abbey's the whole town, the whole area, the build. Anyway,
whatever. An abbey and a church, they're the same thing. But then you have to beeline because he's surrounded by like undead. So he has to beeline down. So that fight's kind of cool and unique by itself. That's one of the more unique ones, honestly. But the absolute most... Well, let's talk about before we talk about that, the most unique fight, let's talk about the next.
The biggest grinding
area. I think that's in a place called, I have it right here, I think it's called Uranbatol. Because this is actually kind of how the story works, is you have to do trying to get my thoughts straight, you do a fight outside the town. The main bad guy, he's holed up in this town. You're laying siege to it, and you beat everybody outside. Once you beat everybody outside and you go in, there are enemies still inside the town, and they're like, "Hey, we surrender. We won't fight anymore." And they're actually kind of cool. Like you're not rescuing people. There's people walking around, and you're like recovering after battle. And that's part of the first time you see an aftermath of a battle. It was like a unique aftermath. Because you have centaurs, people who walk around with their hands up, and you talk to her like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I surrender," and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of cool. And then, but right after that fight, immediately after that fight, is the docks. Is the dock fight.
Yep, the only fight on the docks. It's easy to pinpoint.
It's got two really awesome, and it's, again, I think it's designed to be grounded. Ominous. Because it's got these bats that are annoying. We've mentioned bats before.
Water bats.
These I think they're called sea bats. Not to be confused with sea bass. Those are different creatures. But these ones poison you or they sleep you?
I think sleep you.
Because there's other bats that will poison, and there's also zombies that can poison you. But the
zombies are in that church and they're powerful.
Yeah. There's other fights. There's like a hellhound or something. And there's some other enemies that you get experience for killing them. They're okay, but these bats.
There's like 4, 5, 6 of them.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6 of these bats that even promoted. I'm talking. So understand, I had got a character level 15, promoted them, and I was still hitting these bats when I would finally kill them. Was still getting 48 experience. Yep, like awesome. These bats are insane. Like I think I had characters that were still getting. No, I think I ground everyone till they weren't getting 48 experience. I ground.
Talking like was that a faint memory of maybe getting promoted characters to level 5.
I think so.
Which is a lot.
It's a lot.
That's good. Getting a bunch of your team to 15, promoting them, and then leveling them up all the way to 5 in this, at least 5 in this fight before you saw any kind of semblance of the experience going down.
I don't know why.
Another key feature besides the bats is this boss does not move.
Yeah,
the boss stands in one place, does not move.
He'll move if you get close to him.
Doesn't move. He stands on that. He stands on the dock.
He does stand
right there by the boat.
Because I remember I would
go surround him.
Because I would kill everybody, and to try to get a little bit of extra experience, I'd get my long range people.
Hit him while waiting for Max's turn.
He's a boss. He has like 100 or 200 HP, yeah. So I'd actually surround him and beat him, just beat the crap out of him. But once I got to about like the 20 area or something like that, I'd be like, let's egress. Mm-hmm. I don't want to risk accidentally killing him. Yeah. I think I did kill him one time with a critical hit. Luckily, I was able to rewind his death and not attack, and then just pass turn until I got to egress. But Ramudon, I think it's Ramada or something like that. No. That is Chief Elliot, because you meet that dude in POW, and he was like, my King Romula is under control of Dark Soul.
Yeah, I feel bad for that guy. He fights you only because he's king, because he's so
he's
loyal
like,
to
I
his
don't
king.
want to fight you, but next time we meet, if my king orders it, I'll have to fight you. And
He's like the next fight.
well, the cool thing is that that is a race you don't get to. He's like a dragon person. Or like a lizard person. He looks really cool, but you don't get lizard people. You see them,
Yeah.
but you don't. You fight lizard men and you fight.
I've read in passing of a ROM hack that lets you have him as a ROM hack.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I just thought about that. There are more races than I even mentioned.
Mm-hmm. He's the only one you see, I think.
But you see one or two. You fight lizard men.
Yeah, but he's more like a dragon guy.
Yeah, he looks really cool. His character looked really cool.
Yeah, Elliot,
That was probably one of the sadder deaths because even after you kill him, he's like, "Thank you, please save my king. Don't." He's like, "Don't hold my kingdom at fault for what Dark Soul did.
Yeah,
please save my people." Like that was like a really cool really cool little thing. Plus, it was right after an amazing train session. I mean, Elliot got to know one another. Sorry, but yeah, that's probably the
good part.
The best. That is the best training spot in the game.
Yeah,
hands
for
down.
sure.
Everything you look at mentions it.
You can grind any other fight you want to after this one, based on if you want to level up some more. But this will be the biggest growth and strength you have in this game. Will be the dock fight. You'll be so powerful. You're so powerful after this fight, probably, that you don't have to ever grind again, I would imagine. But you can if you want to. Like this fight comes before. You don't have Musashi, Hanzo. You don't have those are all those characters come after this fight. So that you would be grinding more later if you wanted to use those later on characters.
Speaking of us being cheaters and re-rolling level ups, I did find out.
Try to move past that.
Yeah. But during this part, I had promoted all my characters, so I started using the stat items, and you can re-roll the stat items. That's 1, true. 2, or 3.
Yeah, you get 1, 2, or 3 points.
And you just keep re-rolling until you get that 3 on the character you want. So
we're babies. We talked about this.
I want to have the most fun, and sometimes the most fun is just rewinding 2 or 3.
Look,
sometimes
man, I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I'm having a real hard time with Dark Souls 1. I'm gonna be when we mentioned we're gonna play all this. We play all the Souls games. This is hard. If I'm not playing a Souls games, I'm a baby having a good time somewhere else. That's it.
Yeah, that's definitely worth mentioning. And then I do have another thing here. I took a picture of this because I thought it was silly and I took note of it. But after those fights, you go to a kingdom called Prompt. Mm-hmm. It's one of the ones where you kind of... It's weird because...
I see how long ago I played it. You're mentioning town names and stuff. I don't remember any of this. When was my last? 6/13 of 2024 is when my last save state was for this. Yeah. Whew, almost a year ago. Mm-hmm. We want to talk about this game for a long time. We play a lot of video games.
Yeah, but this town's kind of funny because I talked to the king's advisor, and he's like, "This is King Kusako, the ruler of Prompt. Be polite, or we'll throw you in jail." And your character's like, "What?" And the guy's like, "In jail," and you get thrown in jail, and then you get freed. But the whole thing ends up being a ruse because they're trying to pretend to be bad for the bad guy or something like that. Mm-hmm. But you get thrown in jail, you get out. And then you get out and you go talk to the king. And he's like, "Oh, I thought we threw you in jail. Anyway, we need your help to fight these bad guys." And you're just like, "What? What?" Yeah. It was kind of like a whiplash of what was going on during that.
Could be a weird mistranslation or something like that. Yeah.
And then I think shortly after that fight is when you get Blue. Yeah. And I hung out with Blue.
Yeah, I didn't use Blue. We kind of decided for you to go ahead and use Blue since I actually had Xylo. You lost Xylo. Go ahead and
let me talk
really
about
quick.
That.
Tell your Xylo lose.
So Xylo is my fault. 110% my fault because I had played the game and I hadn't been. This is the first time I've genuinely used anything remotely regarding like a save states or rewinds. I didn't fully understand what I was doing. It seems kind of silly for someone who's in their 30s, but it's something I never used and never thought about. Yeah. So, and with it being on the Switch, I would just put my Switch to sleep. Mm-hmm. Put my Switch to sleep and plug it in, put my Switch to sleep, and I would just pick it right back up in between turns. Same thing you would do with the save state, but I wasn't using save states. I was just putting it to sleep.
Should have been using save states.
And so I ended up going somewhere. I got Xylo, who's this amazing werewolf. You have to get an item.
Wolfman.
He's a wolf man. You have to get this specific item in the
note. Obviously, clearly, as this story's going, he is a missable character.
He's a missable,
which is where the story's going.
Yeah. So you do this story. You free these people who keep getting enslaved to mine this quarry to get these things. This lunar stone, moon orb. No, it's a
lunar tear.
Yeah, it's
lunar tear.
They grind the moonstone down to a lunar dew is what you need to feed Xylo. So you get this, you take it to this guy, he brings it down to the lunar dew, and then you go and give the medicine to Xylo, and he calms him down. He gets back to his senses. He's gone into like a berserking rage. And you get Xylo, who's a monk. He doesn't have to equip any items, so he has 4 slots for your items. He's great. And stupid fast, stupid strong. And on the world maps, because of what he is, he's not affected by terrain, which we haven't really talked about that.
We mentioned talking about terrain, yeah.
Because, like, you move slower or faster in forests versus open fields, and then same thing with mountains and water and stuff like that. He's not affected by terrain. And there's a couple other characters who aren't affected by terrain, and that does
some are heavily affected.
Yes. And I used him. I loved him. He was like one-shotting people, and he was.
He's got to be a fan favorite.
Yeah, he wasn't even promoted. He came on like level 9, but he wasn't even promoted, and he was just murking folk. And it's like I was like, this dude's amazing. I love him. I fell in love. I told Drew, I was like, get this character. He's great. You'll love him. I didn't want to spoil it for Drew that he was a werewolf, but I was like, get Xylo. He's in this town. Make sure you don't leave till you get Xylo. And I told that to Drew, and then I like turned my game off or whatever. And when I went to play it again, I don't know, it had died or fallen asleep. Something happened, and my software closed. And when I went to get back into it, I realized, I was like, what is going on? What? And I was in such a rush to get back to where I was that I just moved forward, and I didn't get Xylo. And I went until like I beat like 2. It was like a town later, because I beat the world map fight, and then I made it to the next town. And I was like, well, Xylo wasn't on my party. I was like, I bet I couldn't get him on my party until I get to my next Shining Force office, to where that's where you rearrange your teams and stuff. And I get to my next Shining Force, because the game auto saves. Like once you beat, well, an auto save, but like I think I may have saved as soon as I beat the fight.
I see when you beat a fight, it's gone.
Yeah. And so I went to, and I was like, where is Xylo? And then it dawned on me. I was like, oh my God, I missed Xylo. And I was mad at myself, but I'm not restarting the game for that character. I was already, halfway into it. So because of that, because Xylo for me swapped out for Gong. They're the same character, except for Xylo was faster and stronger and didn't have a heal. And so I kept Gong in my party. Like, he's an honorable mention because I kept Gong in my party because he got promoted plus 10. I got him to level 10 after he was promoted. Mm-hmm. So he was on my party for a long time. He wasn't the longest person on my party because those are 3 other folks really. But Gong he kept his place because I lost Xylo because I was stupid and I didn't understand about using save states or anything like that. And that hurt me. I would have loved to have kept him on my party, but
which would have eventually led to you using blue instead of me. So I kept using Xylo, and you switched over to using blue instead.
Yeah, I think I put another centaur in my party temporarily.
Yeah,
but yeah, I once I got blue and actually got him.
I think he sucks until he promotes. Doesn't he kind of suck until he promotes?
Kinda. Yeah, honestly, I think he does because he has a breath attack that hits. But then once I think he's the only one next to certain enemies. But once he promotes to his guardian dragon, he evolves to a blue eyes white dragon. Basically, he has a cone attack, kind of like the Hellhounds, where it's
oh really?
It's a cross.
Oh, yeah. See, I didn't know that. I didn't use him at school. As his basic attack, or as like a magic?
This is breath. This is his basic attack.
Wow. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and like I said, he also has one of the cool. His critical hit was a copy of another boss, but it was like a spray of like
and not to mention his mobility.
Yeah, mobility. He's not affected by terrain because he can fly, so he's fast.
He doesn't get the terrain bonuses. We forgot to mention those
terrain bonuses.
Yeah, added defense based on the terrain.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's like trees and stuff, and you
get more defense. Yeah, but those are negated for the flying types.
And then like I said, we've mentioned him in passing. He's one of the last characters you get is Adam. Speaking about like unique things, is Adam also has he's the only character that he has a unique, it's called a deadly strike animation, which is just a critical hit, but his is unique where it actually changes how he hits. Because if you hit, he just like punches the person in front of him. But if he gets a critical hit, he'll blast a laser out of his arm, Mega Man style or whatever, and he'll hit 2 people if they're back to back, and it'll trigger. He has a unique. He's the only character that does that. He'll shoot a beam, and it will literally hit the people behind.
Yeah, I never known. He's too late in the game. I didn't use him.
But he's the only person who has that, where that literally changes his attack because he actually changes attack. I think that's kind of cool. So, and then I don't think I have. No, this is one of the other things. We talked about weapons changing and stuff like that, and that's a great tick. There are select fights. There is two weapons in particular. One is called the Doom Blade, and the other one is called the Heat Axe. Now, Heat Axe is like the second most powerful axe you can get in the game, and I think the Doom Blade is the most powerful sword you can get in the game, next to what the main character's unique weapon is. And both of those can be farmed from an enemy. But if you beat the fight, you don't get another chance. And if you kill the enemy and your inventory is full, the character who kills him, the inventory is full, you don't get the item.
Yeah.
But so
I think the Heat Axe fight is the Elliot fight, isn't it?
it's the one right before. It's right after Pow. You do that, and then you go to the castle where Elliot is.
I thought it was the Elliot fight.
Well, he yells at you. He's like across the border or whatever, but it's. I might be mistaken, but I don't think I am because you fight the Heat Axe fights on the world map.
Yeah, so it's the Elliot fight.
No, Elliot.
Elliot fight's a world map fight.
So you don't fight Elliot on the docks then because you killed that person.
Yeah, that's a different guy. That's some other lieutenant or something.
Oh, so we were talking. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, Elliot ain't on the docks.
Because Elliot also has that cannon, and he's like right beside that thing.
Like a catapult, maybe.
Yes, a catapult. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is that fight. My bad. So Elliot's not the guy who you fought on the docks, but Elliot, the whole battle and dialogue with Elliot is still right here. It's really cool. Don't my bad for getting the wrong person.
It's been a year since we played.
Yeah. Trying to think.
Well, do you want to? We're a ways into this. You want to talk about our final parties? We've talked about. We obviously love this game. Awesome.
Well, like I said, and there are just one other thing. There are treasure chests in certain fights. That's where you get the most. It's something called the Valkyrie. It's the most powerful spear in the game. But if you do not open the chest in combat, you don't get the item. So if you see a chest in combat, because it's annoying is sometimes after combat you can open a chest and sometimes you don't. If you see a chest in combat, open it up. Open it up. I'm letting you know now because you can miss out on some stupid powerful weapons and accessories like the evil ring and the light ring and stuff like that. Before we talk about our parties, we mentioned it briefly, but do you want to talk about the bridge battle? Probably the most unique battle next to the final boss, of course, because the final boss it's just like 3 heads.
Yeah, the bridge battle is probably a well-known. Anybody who plays Shining Force knows the bridge battle.
The bridge battle.
It's like the one. I think
it's called Runefaust's secret weapon or Dark Soul's secret weapon.
Yeah, the secret weapon of Runefaust.
Yeah.
So they've built like this. It's a fantasy game, but they've built like. I mean, there's other technology stuff in the game. You'll see. There's with Koichi, one of the characters has a flying machine and other color. So anyway, the bad guys have built this huge freaking laser eye that is pointed right at this bridge, and you have to cross this bridge in between shots of this laser. It's pretty cool. It's done really well. We literally just watched Ben do this. We were rewatching the playthrough. We watched Ben do this again a couple of days ago. It's a matter of like waiting for the laser to fire. You get a couple of turns waiting for it to build up and then fire, and then because
it counts down. It's like
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And then so when you do that, so then when it fires, it hits everybody, enemies included. And then you have to kind of make a break across the freaking thing while trying to kill enemies. You're only safe on one part, it comes to find out.
Yeah.
We thought there's like these outlying spots across the bridge. The top apparently is not safe because his max was standing on the top and got blasted. Looks like the bottom part, it only was like 4 spaces on the bottom. Imagine you got 4 safe spots in the middle of the bridge. You have 12 characters. So you got to either move them in sets of 4 across the bridge or just gung-ho across the bridge, which is what it's like Ben did. He just gung-hoed across the bridge and got his team lasered.
The only way... Actually, no. I think the bridge battles before you even get any flying units.
I don't know if he has it. I don't know if he has.
I don't think the flying. I think you have. I think you're on foot.
I don't think Koichi's joined yet.
Koichi, neither the birds or Domingo, because Domingo's after. Because after you do that, after you do that fight, he has some. The Balboroy fights before that. The church fights before that, isn't it? Is it? I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, regardless, majority of your characters are on foot. Whether it be all 12 or 11 of them are on foot trying to run across this bridge where this laser shoots at you. And the laser is devastating. Yeah, it's hitting like 20 damage. 18, 20 damage.
Yeah, it's could have... If you're not at full health, I mean, the stronger characters will survive one hit, but your mages and your healers are not going to survive getting hit by the laser. So it's pretty cool. It sucks, but it's cool. It's a cool fight. And you get across the bridge, you can smash the machine. If you get somebody quickly across the bridge and they get enough turns, they can smash the laser before it, hit you.
Goes off a second time. Because my strategy, because I did not do well the first time I went against it. I thought I had time, and then I was like, "Ooh, let me hide," and then no, and it goes across the whole map. Like if you're like anywhere the width of the laser, even if you're like it covers the full map.
Yeah, all the way across. And the bottom part where you're supposedly safe from the laser, they have placed archers down there.
Yeah.
That are at enough range to shoot up at you.
There's really only one square is safe.
Yeah, and they're sneakily, kind of dirtily hidden down there. Not hidden, you can see them. So when you go down there, you know you're gonna. So you want to take characters down there like mages or your spear throwers who can stand down there and they can fight the archers off. So the strategy would be to send maybe mages or I would send the strong, heavy the centaurs first that can throw spears because there's multiple enemies on the bridge already, and then
the lizardmen and Pegasus Knights.
Yeah, it's a crazy fight. His Pegasus Knights can fly too. They're flying.
Yeah. We don't have Pegasus Knights. We don't get them in this game.
Yeah, weirdly enough, you get them in Shining Force too.
Yeah, so there's another creature we don't get that the enemies do: lizardmen and undead and Pegasus Knights.
But anyway, it's an interesting fight. Only fight done that way. Thankfully, they don't repeat that kind of an idea again. There's no reason to repeat it. Done one fight. I'm sure it's like a pivotal fight in anybody's playthrough, whether you're prepared for it or not. It's really cool. I think and it's hard but cool.
It's hard, yeah.
And when you get past the laser, the fight ain't done. There's enemies on the other side.
There's still enemies that can bum rush you while you're trying to kill the laser.
Yeah, so it's a tough fight.
That hands down, that is the most unique fight, which is good. I'm glad they didn't repeat it.
Yeah,
there are other.
We're glad that every fight doesn't have some sort of gimmick in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
most of the fights are straightforward. There's one fight that I got super easy on. Is shortly after I started using. I had a much easier time than you did because we were. It was like one of the final dungeons. Is we're scaling the castle to get into the final dungeon, and it actually involves you having to like scale, have people go up ladders and stuff. But I had Domingo, Blue, and Koichi, which are all three flying people, and I had full reign, and I was able to like literally I moved Blue, Koichi, and them to the top of the map, and I had them work from the top of the map down, and my guys worked their way up, and we met in the middle, and the fight was over.
That's cool.
And a much easier time due to my lack of having to deal with terrain. But that I think it's time we do our teams and discuss, and we can talk about like if we have the same people. Obviously, I have that same character. And
I'll start at the top of my list. Did you have Max?
Yes, I had to make. Oh, do you know your level?
It doesn't matter. I mean, I had Hero. I promoted to Hero level 19.
21.
You must have grinded more than I did. I kept May the entire game apparently, which I'm surprised.
I did not keep. I actually ended up swapping out both my centaurs for other centaurs, but I did not have.
Interesting.
May.
So my May was a paladin level 19.
Mm-hmm.
Did you use Pele?
Yeah, Pele.
So Pele also promote paladin promoted level 20.
21.
Okay. I did not use. Okay, so I didn't use the next 4 centaurs.
I did use one of them. I used Ernest.
I think I did for a while, or I wanted to.
I used Ernest because he looked cool.
Yeah.
I used Ernest Paladin to 21.
Nice. From next would be, do you use any other paladin, any other centaurs? Next would be Gort probably. Mm-hmm. Gort's early. Gort and Luke both starting party game.
Gort's not Luke is. Gort you get when you come back to town, but he is missable if you don't talk to him in the bar.
Gort is missable. Okay, so Gort was next for me. Gladiator 19. Him and Luke both gladiators at 19.
Gladiators 20.
Okay. We didn't mention. We should have talked about Gunts probably.
Gunts. Yeah, Gunts, however you want to pronounce it. He is an assistant or a friend of Koichi's. Mm-hmm. And Koichi basically put an armadillo in a robot suit and was like, that works. Yeah. And you're like, I don't know if this works because the armadillo, who's a person, he can speak English, and was like, I don't know. And like you see him like twice throughout the game where like the machine breaks and it's not working, and then because you can miss Koichi if you don't talk to him that final time.
Mm-hmm.
But
that first time,
yeah, if you don't talk to him that first time, but they join, and he's an armadillo in a robot.
Yeah,
and he's not affected by terrain. He's also like the slowest character in the game, but has like the highest defense.
Yeah,
I think
he's pretty cool.
And when he hits people, they get got. But he could also use uses spears. So I had him. He was a powerhouse for me.
Yeah, he has one of my unique the one of a kind spears. The Valkyrie looks like I got to be equipped with the Valkyrie.
Yeah,
there's like 2 unique spears: a Valkyrie and then
the Power Spear. No, there's something else.
No, Pale has the Devil Lance.
The Devil Lance. Yeah.
Let's see, after Gunts, I have Henri, who joins you pretty early in the game.
She's your starter party. Her and Luke are starter party.
Henri joins you right after. She's a princess who joins you right after.
Oh, is it Tao then? Okay, I think Tao. Tao's a higher level, so I think Tao's in your starting party.
Yeah, Tao's your starting party. So Henri, I did not. After Henri, I have Aleph, who I did not know was a cool mage. I didn't know that's the fox person.
It's the ice mage, yeah.
Ice mage. Then Tao, of course, is starting party.
Yeah. My Henri is 18. My Tao was 20. Both promoted, of course.
Yeah, 17 and 18. You must have did an extra couple of fights or something near the end. There's the ridiculous Domingo.
Yes, Domingo is, like I said, he's a promoted character. You get him when you, like I said, he's secret, so you have to like have picked up an egg earlier in the game and held onto that egg the entire game, and then when you get to Pal, the moving village, there's someone in that town that has a device that will hatch the egg for you. So you have to. This thing will take up space in your inventory for
a little while.
About.
I'd say half the game. It's not that long. Because he's in your party for a long time.
Now, what
if
level?
You use him, my Domingo's on 32.
Mine's on 34.
The highest level, probably your highest level. He levels up fast.
He levels up quick too, which is weird.
He's incredibly powerful.
But he also gets to a thing. He has the highest defense of any magic user too, because he's a monster.
And he's flying.
And he has he can't equip because he's a monster. He doesn't have any.
Mine's just holding a bunch of heal seeds.
Yeah, and not affected by terrain, like you said, because he's floating.
Yeah. Low, of course, is your default healer, which I imagine eventually left your party.
Yeah, I didn't use low.
Yeah, below low, I have Chris, who is a mainstay for my whole game.
Yeah, my 16, because mages are harder to heal.
Really, my Chris is on 21.
Mine's on 16 because I didn't need healing as much.
I think I was doing the aura heal faster. Tarasu, I didn't use. Gong, who was an early use. We didn't mention the archers. Diane, Hans, Lyle. I feel like Diane and Hans are early characters that you kind of eventually.
Hans is okay. He's long range.
Yeah, they're all archers. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Diane is just a better version of Han all around, from what I can tell. And then there's a unique cannon. Not cannon. It might be a cannon, but it's an archer only weapon that you can get later in the game. That was great for either Diane, but I wasn't using them because I had spears.
And I wonder if Lyle, because Lyle has a different class. I don't know if he's promoted. I didn't use a Lyle.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay. For him is the two Birdmen, Amon and Balbaroy. Didn't use them.
No.
I don't know if they're good or not. Looks like they use sword. I don't know if they're. I would like to do when I do the remake, I would probably do characters I didn't use before.
Try to, yeah.
Yeah. Koichi, which is a mainstay for a while, but for me, he ended up leaving my party for more powerful people.
I kept him because I like the range. Well, I like the range with the Devil Lance.
Yeah, okay.
Because he has super massive range and he would just murk people. But I think I ended up switching the Devil Lance to. I think mine was also Pele because he had the highest attack.
Yeah,
with
he was
it.
super powerful.
So I still kept Koichi with powerful just because the range he had and not affected by terrain.
Awesome. Next is Blue, of course. You used him. I didn't.
I used Blue again. Monster, no items to take up space, and as a baby, it kind of sucks. But once he evolves and he gets the breath attack, he's amazing.
Game changing.
Yeah.
Adam, we didn't use. Xylo, which I used the entire game. He's my wolf. He promotes a Wolf Baron, I guess. Level 20 Wolf Baron. I ended up actually using Musashi. Apparently, he's on my team for the final fights. Musashi, level 17 Samurai. He's just cool. And then Hanzo, which we didn't use.
Neither one of you used Hanzo.
I think that's all the characters.
Yeah. And like I said, I had an honorable mention of Gong for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's crazy that you can go through the game because, like, literally of that main character, of course, obviously Max, but then Luke and Tao are literally.
They can be whole game.
Their whole game.
Yeah, because you want to most everybody's going to tell you to use all the mages.
Yeah,
mostly. I didn't know about the freaking little fox guy. I didn't know nothing about him. I might use him if I ever replay it or something. But I thought maybe try a no mage playthrough or something.
We'll see, because the magic you want is just because they get.
It's ridiculous.
It's so stupid.
Well, I mean, we're have a long-winded, excited podcast here. You got anything else you want to?
The only thing is, do we want to do spoiler alert for like how the game ends?
I don't remember how it ends.
Well, I'll spoiler alert for people who haven't beat it, just so you're aware.
We're not playing the game for the story necessarily.
Well, there's a cool thing after you beat the final boss or whatever. You can't leave. Mm-hmm. He was like self-destructing, and he's called black magic, and so everything's collapsing, and you can't leave, and all your team starts kind of like gathering around the middle of the room. And you're like, we can't escape. What do we do? What do we do? And Max, being the hero, he's like, I'll think of a way to get everyone out of here. And
that's the only time he talks in the whole game.
Yeah,
does he talk right here?
Yeah, he kind of talks.
I don't know if he has spoken dialogue or not.
But they're like, what are you going to do, Max? And he kind of looks at everybody, and he casts Egress
on your team
instead of himself to like reset the fight, and he sends everybody out of the castle, and so they all appear on like the beachfront or whatever, and the castle crumbles and all that stuff. So you're like, it's kind of cool that a move you've been using the whole game actually has saves the day. It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like how it did that and everything. And he perishes.
Until after the credits.
Yeah, it's, unfortunately, yeah, I would have liked it better if he had stayed dead. But during the post-credit scene, Adam, one of the ancient robots you find, is seen dragging him to safety, and you find out. So I don't know, is Max the main character for the second one?
I don't think so, no.
But I would have liked it cooler, but I guess people would have get kind of dour, like, oh, the main character died, but he would have died saving everybody. But yeah, Adam does save him in a post-credit scene. So if you just aren't paying attention, you can miss it. I think it's cool that he casts Egress to save everybody, which is kind of funny. It's something that you don't really realize could be like an active thing to save people. Because you don't think about it. You just think of it as your means of training.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's the last thing that I had a note for.
So you ready to do our quick little ratings, announce the next games, and go get some lunch?
Oh, actually, no. I do have one other thing I want to talk about, just because I said I would talk about it at the start of the game, but now we've got the whole game, just a little bit about the remake.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So the remake was made for Game Boy Advance in 2004. So that's 12 years later. That's pretty crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah. And it came out, its title was Shining Force Resurrection of the Dark Dragon. Now, it changed a couple of things, including an extended plot, 3 new playable characters, 3 new battles. It had a ramping difficulty system. I don't know what that means. It's just ramping difficulty systems. I don't know what that means, if you have control over it or if it...
That sounds like it gets harder for no reason, like scaling or something.
Yes, I don't know. And then some tweaks in the gameplay. And it says one of the new characters can use cards in battle, and what's that? I don't know. It just says can use cards in battle. I don't know what that means. It also says that the turn order is determined solely by character speed stat, which can be checked at any time from a list, allowing characters to plan out battles with greater certainty. So you can know the list of the battle once the thing. And I think does it say? Okay, it doesn't say that if it changes, like if a character level up, it will change their order or not. But it says one of the other features features a ramping difficulty system. Every time a playthrough is successfully completed, a player will earn a star.
Oh, New Game Plus.
As this would be New Game Plus, will earn a star by their name, and all enemies will get a boost in their stats for the next playthrough. The game was also re-released on iOS, and which has since been removed by Sega for some reason. But yeah. So the ramping thing is only for New Game Plus, so you can play through it without having this. So that's.
I'll probably try to use the other 2 new characters as well. All three
new characters, yeah. And plus, when you didn't use them, maybe worth something to look into.
Interesting.
So it's quite a few, and they say I don't know what the expanded story would be. Maybe they just kind of make you feel
just rewritten and
probably retranslated too. Who knows? Like you said, some of these translations might be weird.
Yeah, I don't remember any janky translations. It's just kind of by rote. Good guys beating bad guys story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to go ahead and give yours?
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm not going to talk in circles about that. We obviously really like this game. Really enjoy it. I mean, it's crazy. We went our whole lives and didn't know, we heard of, but didn't really know what this game was. It's funny how you can find things that you love so late in your life, and I'm really looking forward to. We'll probably be doing a Shining Force 2 run before too long. And I'll definitely be playing the Shining Force 1 remake. Doesn't look like 2 got a remake. So it looks like we'll just play 2 on the Genesis. Shining Force 3 is hard to get your hands on because only part of it is even in English. There are fan translations of it because it's in multiple scenarios. Apparently it's Shining Force 3 is broken into multiple scenarios, which sounds really cool.
And also like Suikoden 3 like broken into.
I don't know. Like it's hard to you gotta like go look into it. But apparently it's got fan translations. It's hard to emulate Sega CD apparently. Really interested in it because on Sega CD it kind of looks like a PlayStation. Sega CD is not too far from the PlayStation. It kind of looks like a PlayStation era Shining Force game, so it looks really cool. Obviously, it wouldn't be developed by this team because you didn't mention it in their history. Yeah. So I wonder if like all the combat and the math, because math is so important in this game, all the math adds up to make a really cool game. I'd like to try.
Shining Force 3 there?
Well, so they did do it. They did do Shining Force 3. You didn't mention it in their history.
Okay, maybe not in their initial history. It may not have been.
But anyway, super interested to play that. Anyway, really love the first one. I want to play the remake probably. I want to play Shining Force 2. I can't speak highly enough about it. It's just fun and made so well that it makes me. It made me play a genre of game that I don't normally play. That's speaking really highly. So I got to give this 9 C-bats I smashed to promote my party out of 10.
9 C-bats you smashed?
Just said it.
Yeah, sorry.
Nine C bats that I smashed to promote my party out of 10.
There you go.
Pretty close to maybe even a 10. The game's like nearly flawless. It could be like a high 9, almost a 10. I hate want to give a perfect rating to a game, but the game's really good.
It's genuinely really good. Yeah.
Maybe if it had a better story, like a more fleshed out story.
I think that's the other thing. It needs a better story because it is very by rote.
I was just playing the gameplay is king though.
In a situation like that, though, gameplay can make up for it. If gameplay is fun, I think we said that before. If gameplay is fun, story doesn't have to be good.
Take a back seat.
Yeah,
we talk about on a tangent. What's the other one? Kick-ass combat.
Battle Chasers
Night War. Story. Who knows?
I love watching my numbers go up in that.
Yeah.
That is
awesome combat. Anyway,
the good thing is you and me actually. That's about where I'm at, and and the funny thing is that's about where everybody's at. Like looking at past receptions
and stuff.
Yeah. Like everything. 94, 92, 95, 93, 90. Someone tries to be pedantic and be like, it's an 8. And then, and then there's a retrospective, which is like, I guess for the Game Boy Advance version that has less. I don't know why it would have less. Maybe because you're on a Game Boy as opposed to like because you play on a Sega, you had like a bigger TV and stuff. You're playing on a Game Boy Advance.
We played on Switch, man.
Yeah. Maybe it has something to do with it, but a lot of people say that it's one of the greatest Mega Drive games of all time, one of the greatest, So it's generally very well received, and you and me both very well received it. I'm not going to say, I've already said all my positives, my negatives, so I'm going to give it, oh God, what I wrote it down as. I can't read my own handwriting sometimes. I am going to give it
9 sea bass.
9 egressing fights out of 10.
Yeah.
Because you just get to, because you use that a lot.
Yeah, 9 fights you egress from. Very cool, very cool. Go play it. So if you got your Switches, it's probably the best thing you can play on your Switch right now, let's say.
Yeah.
We don't like Switches, but it's the most fun. It's the most fun. Here goes. It's the most fun I've had on my Switch.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, probably.
Yeah, and we played other nonsense games. We played Pokemon Sword and Shield on our Switches. Shining Force is the most fun I've had on my Switch.
This Sega game that's originally for the Sega Genesis is the best experience I've had on my Nintendo Switch because it wasn't a Nintendo game.
Yeah, there we go. Nice and clear. With that, we're on a hard pivot to a much more modern game, completely different genre, all kinds of things, much darker. Like we're going to do a hard pivot because we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we have, for the maybe first time in our podcast history with our cousin Brian, we have forced him to play a video game in a way that he had access to another version of a game that we did not have access to. We played one version of a game. He had the equipment to play another version, so we bought him the other version and mailed it to him to make him play a video game. We'll save it for the podcast, forgetting about how the game ends, we possibly traumatized him. We'll bring it on the podcast. But we're going to talk about a game you haven't not heard of. Like, nobody's heard of this game, and one of the coolest games I've played in a long time. We're having back-to-back episodes of stuff we really liked. This is, I don't know the year. This is a fairly new. We played it on I don't know if it's the PS4 version or PS5 version of a first-person horror game called Madison. Go look this up. Go play this game before we talk about it. It's really easy to get your hands on. It's really cheap. We played the PS5 version.
And we'll explain what we had to do to get Brian his copy.
It's not too much short to explain, but anyway, but Brian, lucky him, has a PlayStation 2 VR, and Madison, Madison has a PSVR 2, that's a mouthful, PSVR 2 version. So Brian got to play a horror game that we talked up pretty thoroughly to him before realizing, well, we did overhype. He'll share his thoughts, and he had a different experience than us. He talked about, it's cool because they talked about how this game sets up its scares and how that works differently in VR. Very cool, and I'm really glad to have he was willing, he took the time, to catch his perspective on the experience in the same game 2 different ways, because the game is not the same experience as it is in a regular playthrough and then a VR playthrough. It's different. What do we gather? We try to save a lot of that for the podcast. He's talked about some stuff. The ending thing is so funny. It's not funny when we talk about it.
Yeah.
What's happening is not funny, but it's funny that he had to deal with that.
Yeah, in VR.
in VR. So please go get your hands on Madison. I think he was eyeballing it. We ended up getting it much cheaper for him, a physical copy, but eyeball it. There's a lot of horror sales sometimes. The game is worth. We'll talk about more. Just it's cool. The game is a couple hours long. It's probably the coolest horror game that I've played in a long time. And we play a lot of horror games. So check out Madison. I think it's 4 and 5, but we played the PS5 version. Or if you got a VR, play it on your PSVR 2. I don't think it's on the Oculus Quest. I don't know. But Blake will have more research on Madison when we do that next. Of course, we'll wrap things up by thanking Jared and the guys of Emerge for letting us use Letting Go for the podcast. I forgot to post the photo, but we did go see Emerge live a week or two ago. I forget the time frame now. We went to see them, which was awesome. The other bands were playing, of course. They were opening for Nothing More.
And who was the other band? Silly Goose.
Silly Goose.
They were pretty cool.
They were really cool. Everything was cool, but I feel like the most fun I had that night. I'm biased. I've seen Nothing More a couple of times. Silly Goose was new. We've seen Emerge half a dozen times or so ish. Mm-hmm. Emerge was on fire that night. They already know. We talked to Jared, hung out with Jared, talked to Jared a bit, talked to the other guys. I need to know their other names. The other two guys were out there. The guitarist and bassist were out there. I'm gonna learn their names because Jared said. One of the guys is super into Resident Evil, and he needs to come on the podcast. So at some point, we'll have him. I'm gonna figure out. I feel so bad. I see Jared so many times; it's easy to remember his name.
I mean, we've also hung out with Jared too.
Yeah, so we'll get his guitarist on here to talk to us about his apparently a deep fandom of Resident Evil. So we'll do that sometime in the future. I say it now; it could be. 6, 8, 9, how long it takes to get people in the same place at the same time to work things out. Eventually it might happen. So thanks to him as well, of course, because he wrote part of the song for Letting Go, obviously. But all the guys have emerged for Letting Go. Thanks to Milad Markovic, a.k.a. Devious.Pixel, for the art for the podcast. New art incoming for our next guest episode. We're throwing together the ideas right now. How far away? We're on, this is 37, 38?
This is 37. 137. So we have 38, 39, and then the guest episode. So it's like 6 weeks, give or take.
It's a long one, so I won't say the guest yet. It is a repeat guest, somebody we're looking forward to talking to again. But I'll give it another episode or two for we announced that we are getting the ideas together and the art together to send to Milan, which he will knock it out of the park like he always does. Deep breath. And lastly, thank Brian for sticking around and editing the podcast for us. This is a long one, so he's going to have a bit more time, and we have some coughs. Let's see if he left the coughs earlier in the podcast. But who knows? So thanks, Brian, for doing that. Thanks for sticking through all of me whining about Dark Souls 1 as we're playing through it, because it is way harder. He's having a great time. Brian's swinging a big-ass club around, having a great time in Dark Souls 1.
There were some moments.
Earlier moments before he got the club, but now he's got the club, and now everything he hits is having a good old time. He's the strongest. He's every time we play one of these things, there's one of us is the most powerful person in our playthrough, and in Dark Souls 1, Brian is leagues away the most powerful heavy hitter of our team. So he's having a blast. So just stick with it. We'll keep going. I'll keep whining.
And it's funny because I hate to keep talking about it, but through Dark Souls 3,
it was you,
which I did it, and then you did it in Dark Souls 2, and then he's doing it in 3. We're all in 1. We're all giggling
every time
it happens. You just hear the person like just laugh as it happens, because it's a powerful feeling.
Yeah,
to just floor.
Well, I'm giggling watching them smash people to the ground. So it's hilarious. But anyway, thanks for that. Again, come to the twitch.tv/Two Smoking Controllers to come watch us Twitch that stuff live. People say that. Otherwise, go to
stream it.
Stream it live. Otherwise, look in the notes, because I don't know the exact link for our YouTube channel. But go to our YouTube channel and watch our previous playthroughs of other games, including our full playthrough of Dark Souls 1 up to this point. So go check that out. And that's all I got. So we'll catch you guys in a couple of weeks. I've probably forgotten something, but we'll catch you guys in a couple of weeks with the very scary Madison.
Just a little bit of self-promotion on my part. We do have a brother podcast that spawned from this one called Suspension of Disbelief. Me and our good buddy Steve take turns semi-surprising one another about a movie that we do not talk about at all until we record the podcast, so that our opinions don't influence the other one. We have one coming out here soonish. I think
actually one come out today as recording of this podcast.
That should be Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
Which was Steve's pick, and then I have a pick after that.
Do you feel lunky? Do you? Punk.
Yeah, that's where that line came from. If you ever watched 1996 or 1995's The Mask, 1994's The Mask. And then I have a short story that I self-published on Amazon called They Come This Night. Please rate, review that, check that out. It's super, I'm very, 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 very proud of it.
Yeah.
And
Harass Blake online. Find him online and tell Blake to write more stuff.
it's free if you have Kindle Unlimited. It's just $1 if you don't. And with that being said, I do want to wish everybody a good evening and good night.